Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork.
You don't see the curvature of the earth. That stuff is flat.
GLOBEBUSTERS taking over. Bye bye moonlight and rover. Not so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster, but the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is. Get the shovel for the spice hubble, piecing up the puzzle. Need a buster bubble, evil gonna crumble, yeah. Sit down, be humble. Got the ball, you better fumble. You'll get mad, cause at this fight I'm about your uncle.
And then they call me the liar. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable the pathetic techniques that they have to use to prove their heliocentric model.
Vibes at the president, Jeran got the evidence. Arrow slaying Jesuits and Zack is evident. Dead to earth electric and it's resonant. Your residence is heaven sent. I hope to settle in like some sediment. If we so wrong, why they lying to discredit it? That's not too intelligent. That's a guy, not an in court, but we ain't really in the settlement. It's time to awaken from the pseudoscience sedatives.
GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Bye bye moonlight and rover. Not so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster, but the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is.
Inner World Productions.
And welcome to GLOBEBUSTERS Season 11, Episode 8. What's the matter? Everything. I'm just going to get this out of the way because I know that no one would catch it if I don't. It's an E equals MC squared pun. So we got a really nerdy title. But what's the matter? Everything. Austin, you're hilarious. All right, cool. We have a good show. We'll cover a few things, and then we're going to get into some specifics about the pseudoscience that is referred to as relativity. So, let's go ahead and introduce the panel. I have this guy. Most of you probably haven't heard of him. I'm happy to introduce him to the community. His name is Jeran from Jeranism. How's it going, man?
Nice to meet everybody. Good to be here. Hope I can contribute to the flat Earth community.
Maybe so. I mean, you just have to lie and grift and be a con man, and you'll fit right in.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Yeah. Just never tell the truth about anything. Never admit you're wrong about anything, and avoid. Okay, I can't do it anymore. All right, and yeah, it's true. Just go to McToon.net. All right.
Flyers.
Yeah. And we also have Zack from Good Times for All. How's it going, brother?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Yeah, good week. Got some stuff done. Saw something insane last night. I know it sounds crazy, but there's such a thing as synchronized fireflies. Now, the guy went to this like music camp type thing to check out a festival spot, and the guy was an older gentleman, and I noticed there was a lot of people wearing Grateful Dead shirts. And then he started talking about these synchronized fireflies. And I was like, maybe these people are just having flashbacks or something. I didn't believe it. I was like, there's no way. Come on. I would have heard of this. And I saw it with my own eyes, blew me away. And then I came back home and looked it up. And there's like maybe 3 of these places that they found this in the United States, and not that many worldwide either. It's a very rare phenomena. And I just feel blessed to be able to have seen it. It really blows your mind. They don't even blink like normal fireflies. Instead of a nice long, flash for a little bit and then they go quiet for a while, these things would blink almost like a heartbeat beating real fast. It was like on off, on off, on off, on off, on off, on, doon, doon, doon. And then the one right next to it would start doing it in unison with it. And then 10 feet away would start it was insane. Just, yeah, never seen anything like it. Didn't believe it. One of those things that you have to see to believe. And if you live near a place, there's not many here in the States. Like I said, that's like the third one they think they found. But yeah, just totally blew my mind. Such a cool thing to see.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I've never heard of that. That definitely only works on a globe. So,
Take that, Dave Weiss, you bastards.
yeah, man. We do have a couple of. Thanks for telling me my mic was a little loud. You guys can give me feedback, see if it's still too loud. I was pretty close. We have a couple guests as well. So, first up, we have Alan from Space Audits. How it's going, brother?
Yo, what's good?
You know, just living a dream. Yeah. So, and I'm sure most people may be familiar with him, but you can find him everywhere there, Space Audits. And then we also have Toby from Ether Cosmology. How's it going, brother?
Yo, going well, doing well.
So shout out to you guys because I gave you a solid, 10 minutes heads up, and you guys always pull through, so that was clutch. Cool, man, cool. And then I think Dave may be home in a few minutes. He can come on. So what we'll do is we'll kind of talk about some of the stuff that happened this week in the FE realm, and then we'll move over to the topic, which is kind of, E equals MC squared, space-time reification, etc. So, Jeran, do you want to kind of fill everyone in on like the history of this alleged moon landing and your bet and stuff like that? Give people an update on that.
Most people probably remember that back in 2022, I guess it was, there was a report came out that Dear Moon was going to be sending 8 people around the moon or something in 2023. And I just thought it was such a joke because, of course, they'd never launched this craft. It's never been in orbit. It's never had people in it. So that's just a dream. And I pointed out that if you go to Google or anywhere and search it, that every single news agency would just be saying the same thing. They just parrot the same story. Oh, going to the moon in 2023. You go to the website, it said 2023. And of course, I thought this was hilarious because there's no chance. And yet, if any of those guys were actual real journalists, well, then they would go and look into that and they would ask questions and say, well, how are you going to launch in 2023 if you haven't even launched a craft with people in it yet? You haven't even been in orbit. How could you even make that claim? But instead, in today's world, if a space agency makes some sort of a post or some sort of a press release, all the news agencies just eat it up and run with it, even though it's complete and total nonsense. So I came out and wanted to make a bet, and I made a video basically saying that I didn't think actually Globers even believed that because I didn't think they would even bet me. I'm like, if you guys believed in these stories, if you believe space, and if you don't believe it, then you're just allowing these space agencies to lie to everybody, even though nobody actually even believes that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. So I put that out there, and a couple people bet me on a site called BetMoose, which I already collected that money because 2023, of course, came and went. But there was this guy, Arctic Reflections, and I'm sure you guys know him. If you don't, he's got a very small channel where it's really sad. And I've noticed this from a lot of people, it's where they spend their entire time, they make a video a day, it seems like, calling flat earthers stupid. And I don't know about you guys, in my life, I don't know anybody, I've never even seen anybody who is smart, who spends any portion of their day or any portion of their life on calling people that they think are intellectually inferior to them stupid or moronic, or it just doesn't happen. Smart people have things to do. They don't even think about that. The last thing on their mind would be like, who can I call stupid today because I'm so smart? Yet we're surrounded by Globers who have their own channels, who spend the entire time calling flat earthers stupid. So really, if you think about it, who actually calls people stupid? In my opinion, it's the ones who would, basically anybody who would spend their day calling others stupid are in fact the stupid ones. What they're doing is that they are projecting in a way, but also it's if they're aware of their own intellectual kind of lacking, and they have somebody come along who they think they're smarter than. And here comes some flat earthers, and flat earther, that's the dumbest belief ever, is they have to jump on that and they have to call those people stupid because it reconfirms to them, hey, if there's people dumber than me, then I must be somewhat smart, right? So it's really just a projection of these guys when we see it. But that guy, Arctic Reflections, if you watch his videos, every video is just, oh dear, oh, he's so stupid. He doesn't understand anything about the science and what the globe Earth means. And he just goes on and on and on. It's clear that the guy doesn't have a clue. So when I made that bet, he came out and made a video saying he accepted the bet, $500 for 2023. And then I said, okay, great, we're on. That's great. We'll have a nice little bet. And then he made another video like a couple days later where he says, now I look into it. I don't think that they'll go in 2023. It's like, okay, well, you already accepted the bet. But he says, so I'd rather change the date till 2024, to the end of 2024. And everyone said, don't take it, Jeran. I'm like, screw it. They're never going. So I'll make the bet to 2024. So I moved it, even though that's not how bets work. If anybody out there doesn't understand, when you say I accept, it means you've already looked into the bet and decided that it's worth you betting. You don't get to say I accept the bet and then go and look into it and then come back and say, well, now that I've looked into it, it looks a little bit fishy. So I did give him his little out and let him go to the end of 2024. And I've also messaged him probably 3 times or sent a comment saying, at one point I said, just give me $200. We'll call it even. He said, nope. I said, okay. Then as we got closer, I think at the end of last year, I messaged him again and said, all right, give me $300 and we'll call it even. I'm going to take your 500. So just why are you going to do that to yourself? And he said, nope, I don't know what to. So now yesterday, let me actually can share screen and show this. Where is the share screen on this share screen? Get the right one up here. Shoot. All right, I think it's the second display, this one. Yeah. All right, do you see, yeah, just the news here. So in a June 1st message, which was yesterday, Yasuka Mazuwaza announced that he was canceling his Dear Moon mission, which was to fly him and 8 artists around the moon in a Starship vehicle. He cited ongoing delays in the mission and uncertainty when it would launch, of course, because it's just something like everything else that gets kicked down the road. Yet all those news agencies, if you go back, and you can always search here, I like to do this with Google, Dear Moon, we'll put 2023 just for fun. And then what you do when you search is go to Tools and change it to a certain time. Whoops, not in duration, time. Nope, where's that? Advanced search, where's the date? Oh, here we go. Custom range. And then you can just put in, let's say that we want to only look from 2022 through, let's go 2023. And then you kind of limit your searches. But you can see that all these news agencies have been saying this forever, that they would be launching in 2023. Well, now see, this is where it says cancels moon mission in 2023. That's wrong. That's Dear Moon Archives. But anyway, you can see that this has been going on for a while, that these guys have, basically lied to everybody. It's what space agencies do all the time, and nobody ever holds them accountable. In any other business or any other organization, anything like that, if they were consistently wrong and consistently lying to people, then the media would catch on. And the media would start saying, hey, now when something comes out and says that we're going to go to the moon or we're going to do this, then we should probably doubt it. Just think of how many times that we've been told somebody's going to the moon. Google Lunar X Prize was something that was around for, I don't know how long, probably 15 years. And they were like, oh, we'll give away $10 million to the first person who lands a craft on the moon. Google Lunar Prize. I don't know what was the total time that it was on there, but it was probably, there we go. It's probably 10, 15 years. Here we go, Lunar X Prize. But they eventually had to cancel it because nobody went to the moon. So it's just funny because then you would think these medias would start to catch on and actually be true journalists. But this is just one other evidence that there is no true journalism anymore, unless you're talking about what we do. What they do is simply read from the pre-approved scripts or these press releases. I remember, forgot who the author was, who said that NASA, all that they have is they're the number one PR industry in the world.
Yeah, and they're gay. Hey, real fast, dude, do you know why it's sharing your whole screen, but it's got the little red box around just your Google window for some reason, but because it's hard for me to make it where everyone can read it.
Gotcha. Let me fix that real quick here. I think I picked the screen rather than the window. Stop sharing. Okay, confirm stop sharing. Screen share. So it'd be this one here. I don't see it on there. It's so weird. Where is that? Let me open it like this and see if it comes up. Put it over here. I don't know why it's not showing. Wait, this one maybe. Start sharing. Do you see it now better?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Sweet. Yeah. So anyway, yes, gay for sure.
No, I mean like openly. I was just saying, thank goodness for
inclusive. It's called inclusive.
Oh,
getting the word wrong. It's inclusive. So they accept all comers, and it's great. No, I mean it's just a joke because this is what you should expect. So we keep saying this, and how long have I been doing this? 9 years or whatever, and they don't ever do anything that they say they're going to do. At what point does the actual real world wake up and start calling this out? Because if not, it'll just continue. And if you go back to 1970, I think it was that Pan Am was selling tickets to the moon. So this has been going on for now 50 plus years, and that's just not realistic in how technology works. And, you know, if you ask a Glober what's going on, they'll always say, oh, it's always politics. And these, well, yeah, clearly it's done on purpose. This is why I did my video or my movie that NASA Going Nowhere since 1958, showing that every president from Kennedy on has flip-flopped back and forth between the moon and Mars, and it's on purpose. Trust me that that's never the way it would happen in real life. If it was a space agency out there and they're touring and they're going to actually explore the universe, then the politics would be at least in line with it to know that, okay, we're going to have this, they're going to plan this out over this many years. It would never be, okay, please go put all this money into the moon. And then 4 years later, a new president comes in and says, okay, stop that. Put all this money now into going to Mars. Okay, they get going with that whole project. And stop that. We have a new president. Now let's go back. It's just ridiculous. It's clear what they're doing. Now, do I know if there's an end goal? I don't know what the end goal is. I don't know if there's some sort of reset coming that they think is happening somewhat soon. So they just keep basically kicking this can down the road until that happens.
Why would they even have to do that? These people are actually just gone. Like, they'll literally come to you with the brand new excuse and say it with their whole soul to you. Like, you know,
it's sad. And it makes no sense. It's I can't gather it. And so it's just, you know, another one of these cases where now will this guy pay me the $500? We'll see. I suspect the one thing he said he was going to do is he was going to give me $500 and then donate $500 to the Ukraine on my behalf. And I'm like, you will not do any of that. You're going to give me the $500 and you're not going to donate to the Ukraine.
Yeah, you do that on your own behalf.
Yeah, I mean, like, isn't that? I mean, not to poison the well, but isn't it interesting the overlap that always seems to occur?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Like, I'll show the audience here, like this right here. You got like the Ukrainian, like they're on the wrong side of every issue.
Yeah, they're forced to be. They don't even have a thinking mind. That's what I think is so crazy is that these guys who believe in science, if you took them all aside and said, okay, tell me your beliefs about, and say whatever it is, they would all have the exact same answer. They're literally drones or they're literally parrots who, you know, it's just why Neil deGrasse Tyson says that, you know, men should be able to be playing women's sports. We should change the rules of sports to be in line with testosterone, not with whether you're a male or, I mean, just the most ridiculous over the top nonsense. But it's because they're part of that, you know, whatever you want to call it, that part of that side, that's what they're pushing, and they just know that they have to push that. So you never even have to ask a Simon Dan or a Professor Dave what their opinion is of.
No, literally, yeah, literally, you don't.
Zero. I would be shocked if they said one thing that was slightly different than the mainstream. It's just not what they do.
Yeah, just Wikipedia. Just use Wikipedia.
But this is what's so funny, though. These people, they tout like this illusory intellectual superiority, but we sit back and watch how they just constantly have to move the goalpost based on what the propaganda says. We watched it with the whole pandemic. We watch it with the moon missions and with all the space things, right? They put their chest out about like repeating the first narrative, and then they come and just completely pull the rug out from underneath them. And instead of being like, wait a minute, maybe I should stop being so eager and naive, right? They're like, they just repeat it infinitely. That's the craziest part to me. It's like,
I think it's like it must come from like a place of insecurity. Because I mean, we all have to admit, right? So every one of us here says things that are completely against the mainstream, that we know that the second we say it, everybody who's listening is going to be like, what? That's crazy. You're a crazy person. But you have to have some balls to be able to do that, to be able to say it and to be able to stand firm in your opinion. And if you're wrong, sometimes you're wrong. So well, big deal. But these guys are like so afraid of being wrong that they've just said, well, I'm going to always side with science, no matter what science says, whatever the intellectuals say, whatever Neil deGrasse Tyson says, I'm just going to side with that. And this way I'm never wrong, because when I actually am wrong, science will correct itself and catch up. And these guys actually feel like they are the arbiters of truth. It's so ridiculous. I was telling Austin the other day that FTF, he was saying something about Dave Weiss being a liar. I'm like, well, where has he lied? This and that. What do you mean? And it's like, oh, well, in this area. I'm like, that's just a different of opinion. That's not lying. I said, remember when I said east and west were circles and you were screaming that it's not? I said, okay, so in the same case, if I kept saying it, would I be lying? Because guess what? You eventually admitted that I was right. So it's the same thing. Just because you haven't admitted that Dave's right yet doesn't mean that he's lying. People get confused about what lying is. Lying is not just because we're saying something different than the mainstream. That doesn't make us liars. But that's what these guys think. They really think like, oh, Austin doesn't understand anything about electrical theory because he's not saying exactly what the electrical theory is. It's like, yeah, well, he's saying something new. This is how science grows. This is how you can discover new things. The other thing is this whole idea of you can't use people's as references if they don't believe the exact same thing as you. So we can no longer use a Feynman, or we can't even mention that Newton, said what he said about gravity and don't ascribe that to him, because he believed in the Earth as a sphere. So therefore, if we don't, then we can't use Newton at all for anything ever. It's just ridiculous. I don't even know where these guys get this kind of thought process, other than somebody gave them a piece of paper that says that, hey, I'm smart. They put it on their wall and they worship that, and they will stick to that no matter what, even if the rest of the science is changing around them. And I've heard you say it too, Austin, that the actual scientists, the actual cosmologists, they recognize the problems in cosmology. They will admit, oh yeah, well, we only know 96%, but these other guys act like it's just all done. It's all set. There's nothing new to discover. Everything's perfect. It's like, no, 96% of your universe has never been observed. Like, there's a problem there. Nope, that's just, they'll figure it out. It's dark matter. They're going to figure it out. It's like, dude, you guys need to wake up. Science has to grow. It doesn't just stay stagnant. And that they actually believe that everything that science says now today is true and nothing else is true. They are literally the Copernicus, or the Catholic Church to the Copernicus, if you want to use that as a reference, that you have somebody bringing something new, and you have everybody say, no, the current science is the only truth. And if you're speaking against the current science, then you need to be, excommunicated, which is just nonsense. And I think it's Max Born. I forgot who exactly said the quote that's talking about how science goes through these periods of upheaval where there's a quiet period. And the reason it's quiet is because all of the scientists currently are protecting what they've researched their entire life, right? So this is why peer review, which is touted as some great thing in the world, is not, because what it is it's a gatekeeping method. That's what peer review is. You have 400 people who have all spent their entire careers studying, say, relativity. So if you submit a paper that's saying anything wrong about that, well, they all look at that and laugh at you and throw the paper away, because it goes against everything that they've put their time and energy in. Well, that really blocks us from ever growing. That new stuff. Thank you, Alex. That new science, or that new discovery, is being held back, and any papers that get submitted. And then there's actually people who won't even submit papers, right? Why would you submit a paper they know that, the scientists know that. So they end up doing research in the areas that are around the current science, which could be wrong, could have faulty foundations. So the whole enterprise that we have set up is not the best method to actually get to the truth of items. It is a gatekeeping method. So anyway, I'll stop sharing, but I was showing that it's official. The $30 million lunar X Prize is no more. X Prize founder Peter said in a joint statement with Marcus, whatever.
You can take it. You can take it back if you want.
Do I not have it? Okay, well, it's just an article. I'll just read it. It says, this literal moonshot is hard, and while we did expect a winner by now, due to the difficulties of fundraising, technical and regulatory challenges, the grand prize of $30 million lunar X Prize will go unclaimed. So it's just, at this point, if you bet, what I wrote on Twitter was, I said, if you bet on space at this point, it's like betting on 37 in roulette. Eventually it'll come. It will come eventually. Keep betting it. Eventually that 37 is going to roll, even though there's no 37 on the wheel, and it's never coming. So if you see anybody out there that's willing to bet you that 37 will come, I say go ahead and put your money there and take that bet, because it's not going to happen. And also, just a reminder to please always, look at the bet before you say I accept, because I thought that was funny last year that guy's doing it. But he's a joke. Will he actually pay me? I don't know. We'll see. I would think he would get made fun of pretty bad if he didn't.
Isn't there some kind of rules and regulations in that thing? Like if that site you went through or something like that? I mean, that should be like...
He didn't bet the site. So the
site automatically took care of it.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
The site was automatic, and it also had everybody anonymous. So basically, when I went in and told it that they didn't go in 2023, then the site pays out everybody in Bitcoin. So that's already been done. But this guy did a verbal bet for 500, and we'll see. We'll see what he says. So stupid.
And just gentleman wager he doesn't pay.
Yeah, I think I've heard that a few times. But people are like, "Oh, he's going to say that it means that it doesn't mean that space is fake." It's like, no, nobody said anything like that.
That's not what the bet is. That these people are mentally challenged, bro.
They don't get it. It's like they're just mental. Yeah, I don't know if it's mentally challenged or if it's on purpose or if they. I really think it comes down.
They're challenged. Even if they're kind of smart, like quote unquote, their position renders them stupid. The devotion to the position that is untrue renders them stupid. Real fast before I bring on my boy here, like, weren't you shown? And for those that don't know, like, they said they were going to do this civilian moon trip, blah blah blah. All the globe earthers do what they always do. They run around. This is why almost 95% of them are anonymous, because the way they behave is so just deplorable and embarrassing that they need to hide behind anonymity, because they have that anonymity, which is why we should almost make a rule that we don't engage with them if they're anonymous, in my opinion, because they have no accountability. Why would they? I mean, so they ran around talking about, enjoy flat earth while it lasts. Civilians are about to go to space. We told you, blah, blah. I've been saying that for 8 years, And they ran around. So Jeran's like, calls them out. Like, okay, prove that you actually believe that they're truly going to go there. Because obviously everyone that's not a liar is going to acknowledge that they've claimed that they're going to go to the moon, claim they're going to go back to space, send people to space over and over and over. I mean, actually since the 60s, right? Like the entire time. They've done it in the 21st century a ton. And you guys act like it's always legit and pretend that the past didn't happen. So then Jeran challenged them, put money up, was willing to match with the bets because he was that confident they weren't going to go. And almost no Glober took it. Just the fact that almost none of them that are all running their mouth won't even take the bet. They know. That means they know. So I think Jeran was doing it to prove that.
The three of them that did on that one site did it all anonymously. So even the ones who did decide to put their money up wouldn't put their name behind it. The only one who did was this Arctic Reflections out of everybody. So
and again, and what's crazy?
Campanella, right?
Yeah, like I will say this also. So like one thing that people say is like, well, a bunch of flat earthers are anonymous as well. That's completely different. So I mean, Doc, I don't want to apply double standard, meaning if flat earthers are going around talking reckless and being dishonest and backtracking and just trolling and stuff, it is lame that they do that hiding behind anonymity. But it is objectively different. It would be similar to if a doctor wanted to speak out, but they decided to remain anonymous because it has real life implications and kickbacks. If you go around screaming how the Earth's a globe, you're not going to get in trouble for that. You're not going to get fired for that. You're like... That's the thing about FE is some people have to be anonymous because they're actually worried about their livelihood or whatever. When you're just defending the mainstream propaganda, you don't have to worry about that at all. The reason that you guys remain anonymous is literally because you can act in the most ridiculous ways, right? And never have any accountability. And if you're consistently proven to be a liar or be wrong or whatever, it doesn't matter. And that's why people like MC Toon and FTFE are like mind-blowing, because they actually do it in front of everyone with their real identity and just don't care anyway. Like, to me, that's wild. But real quick,
I went to X.com right now, and FTFE is the first thing that pops on my screen. He says, just so everyone is understanding of the situation, I'm currently targeting any account that posts Nazi or Nazi apologist content, images, memes, violent event denial. I will report it all. I've currently had 7 accounts suspended, and I will get the rest of you. I encourage everyone else to do the same. # no mercy, # no shame.
Yeah, but I mean, don't you see how like
it's so sad.
Yeah, but the natural world is taking care of that guy, and it's sad, but it's like that's what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's like it's whatever. He can go down swinging. With this guy that's on the screen real fast, where we switch gears over to my boy.
Yes.
This is one of the guys that I remember you showing us earlier.
Yeah, Tim Dottie's the everyday astronaut who was selected to go. I'm sorry, he was selected to go on that trip with Mazuhuku or whatever.
Can we listen to a couple minutes of him talking about it then, real fast?
Yeah.
All right, real fast.
Literally, I'm going to go to the moon.
Whoa. Time out here, Tim. Let's get the reality police here on this particular story because, yeah.
Okay, we're not doing that. Yeah, I don't know. I thought this was going to just show a development.
God bless you, sir. You're a scholar and a saint.
I want to listen to that guy a little bit more. I've never even seen that guy before. Who is he? The angry ass?
I don't know. But this is not CGI. This may not be. Looks CGI.
Well, that's
all right. Anyway,
she catch the craft when it comes back and big claws.
I think we do have another guest on here. Dave, what's going on, brother? You there?
What's going on? Is my mic working?
Yeah, it is. Yep. Yes. Let me go ahead and do this for you. This is Dave, the founder of the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, formerly known as a topographical magnetic declination, horizontal compass, correction, Zodiac app.
Magnetic declination.
Topographical stationary plane, centrifugal divergence, centripetal convergence, conjugate geometric explosion, and magnetic field app. Okay.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. So anyway, you've had a pretty big week. So if you want to kind of tell the people that don't know, maybe go ahead.
I was in Austin, Texas. I had a meetup, which was really fun. The first night, 50 people showed up. And thank you to whoever gave me that really nice card. Your name was kind of scribbled. I think it was Jen something. And then I went on, what was the next day? Oh, I did the Way Forward and Luke's Story podcast. Many of you might not know that. These are leaders in the health freedom movement, I guess. They have huge audio podcasts with video. But then the two big ones I did was Roseanne Barr. And let me tell you that she gets it. She was probably the best interview I've ever done.
Is she
and then
as
there
cool
was
as she seems?
She's totally cool. Yeah, she totally gets it. Everything I explained to her, she understood it and was already in line with it before I said it. And she's already invited me back again for round 2. We went overtime, and it was really, really good. That's coming out on June 14th on Roseanne Barr's podcast. She's on Rumble and on the YouTube. Rumble's the bigger channel, I think. And then I was on Alex Jones with Eddie, and it was what it was. You know, Eddie and I were it came out better than we got more done than we thought we'd be able to, because let me just tell you, at the beginning, first, Alex tried to cancel the day before, and Daria, his manager, she wouldn't let him cancel because we were already there. You know, and it's all because of the Trump thing that happened, you know, and then he texts Eddie Bravo the morning he's coming in, like, hey, I don't want to talk about flat Earth. I don't want, we'll talk about it for a little bit, but I want to talk about it. And we went in there with a plan to start off with talking about something else, and then fade into flat Earth literally 5 seconds in. Eddie just, it just leads the way. And, for those of you that saw it, you saw it. And it was really tough to get any point completed there, and I saw a lot of people giving Eddie, and saying, Eddie, he interrupts a lot. If you didn't interrupt, you couldn't say anything. God bless Eddie and his ability to handle Alex like he did. And, it was, I think it was a success. I was happy with it. I can't even Monday night quarterback myself because there were so many things that I started to say, and, Alex just bulldozed, tried to change the topic every time I make a point. So.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, every time you went to make a specific point, it was just like, well, then what about this?
And we talked about how you have to treat airplanes. If you're flying an airplane, you have to treat it as level stationary, otherwise you're going to die. I think you said that, Austin. And I was about to tell him about the rate of descent. That you have to pilots calculate the rate of descent from 100 miles out, and they don't calculate in curvature. But he cut me off there. But I told him that afterwards, off the air, after the show was over, and he was like silent, like thinking about it. And I could tell you during the breaks, Eddie was. I wish I had recorded. I turned my camera on like 3/4 of the way through it. Eddie was rousing him, saying, "You're doing a good job, playing the devil's advocate. I understand that you can't admit it." And he gave us a little duper's delight, no denial whatsoever. He knows the Earth is flat.
At the least, he knows there may be more to it. Yeah.
Yeah, he knows. But the guy. Listen, is he a New World Order shill? If I was going to hire a shill, I wouldn't hire a big child like that. But he is in the business, and he's number one thing is to make money.
He would lose a lot of money if he came out and said the Earth was flat.
Yeah, but I gotta push back. I gotta push back a little bit here. Like,
I'm not defending him.
I am defending. That's what I'm saying. Like, I like Alex. I think that he believes most of what he says. So, like, I don't. I think he does. I think he believes most of what he says. I think from even the inside information that I'm sure you have access to as well, my understanding is he can't bring himself to fully swallow the FE pill. Now, I don't know if that's the case or if he's just not telling anyone close to him or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, in the grand scheme of things, he just had you on there. If it was truly 100% controlled opposition, you wouldn't even been there. There's no way you would be sitting
No,
at that desk.
100%. I agree. And he had me on, and we had some good aha moments there. And boy, I was never planning on convincing him. And the amount of emails I've gotten from people and the amount of traffic on my website, it worked. And I think it was a record live viewing audience. Now we did have a good lead in because he had all that Trump nonsense that he was going, but it might have been one of their highest segments, if not the highest segment ever, as far as live viewers.
That's except for it probably just got overshadowed yesterday, right? Because yesterday was basically underneath the understanding it may be the last show ever. And
I was hoping that that night after our show, he made a tweet, a video tweet about how they might be shut down. I'm like, wow, Flat Earth was the last segment ever on InfoWars. That would have been awesome for us. But
someone's saying, "Oh, come on, Austin, don't be naive." It's like, dude, we talk to people that are actually there, like flat earthers that work there. Okay, like they are actually trying to shut down InfoWars underneath the whole Captain Hook disguise. They're literally trying to shut down the show without proper court orders. They have an emergency court hearing tomorrow to try to extend it until a future date, until the official ruling is made. They are literally trying to padlock the doors and not let them go in there, and that includes real 100% verified truthers that are flat earthers that work there. So I'm trying to tell you guys that you don't know quite as much as you think. It's easier to just throw everything out every time. Like, just chill out. Maybe not everything is fake, like just because you saw orange in the background doesn't mean it equals 33.
Yeah. And RV, please email us for some proper headshots of me and Austin before you make your video. We'll gladly send you some good photos to use for your video. I was going to say even flat earthers are second guessing. Like, I've got 100 emails saying, you should have done this. You should have done that. You should have done this. You weren't there. You don't know what I should have done. All right.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing. You can't you cannot do what you think you're going to do, especially with someone like Alex. That's not how it works.
It went way better than I expected. And, it was, it is what it is. And then, someone said that, the rumor going around now is that I paid to get on there. I paid to get on the Alex Jones show. It's like, and these are flat earthers saying this, right?
Isn't it so weird? Isn't it so weird when you know what's really going on, and then these people just say things with such confidence? Yeah, it's so weird. Weirdos.
It's unbelievable. So
it really hurts the credibility, because you're thinking, like when people say you call you a shill, and you're like the one who knows it, you're not. You're like, man, this is just terrible, because, and then these are sometimes other creators, and you're like,
it's like I need to reevaluate every video I've ever watched of theirs and taken something from if this is how they do their research.
In the green room, I'm talking with Eddie, and I think I was actually filmed it. And he's talking to me, and he's holding his hands out in front of him with his thumb and forefinger together while he's talking to me. Full Freemason symbol. It was either him or his buddy next to him, and I pointed it out. It was him. And I pointed it out, and he told me, he's like, yeah, he used to call people out. Oh, he made the hand signal, but then he watched videos of himself, and he's making those same hand signals. And he's like, that's just a natural way of moving your hands. So, not saying that they don't throw out call signs. I'm just saying, if you touch your forefinger and thumbs together, that doesn't mean you're Freemason. It just means you're thinking.
I mean, who cares? Who even cares, right? I mean, I think it's all so. Like, I was trying to make a more of a meta point the other day too, that flat earthers may even go too far with the whole international cooperation thing. Like, not every country even has a space agency. If you look at the documents that we've now seen, the government had a list of Middle Eastern countries that they had to try to topple. Why do they do the wars and infiltrate with central banking systems if it's all already gotten? It's not. That's the same reason they took Gaddafi out.
Right.
Yeah, if you actually look into it, the world's a little bit more nuanced than this, like, really quick to just write everything off type of approach. I mean, like Iran talking about Antarctica, then Iranian president dies. Slovakia say they're going to expose the pandemic. The prime minister does, and then someone in his cabinet talks about FE, then he gets shot 9 times. It is possible that there are things that seep out. Like, we give them too much power. Same thing for here. InfoWars, It is possible that it's just a truther that kind of had to buck up the system, build his own platform. And in order to do that, he has to have ad revenue. He walks certain lines. He gets enough money to host a show. and whatever. Like, he did it, you didn't do it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's like meeting with the CIA every morning on what he's allowed to talk about, and he's like a Mossad agent. I just think it's really frustrating to watch people do that because it discredits us a lot. We have so much truth on our side. There's really no reason to try to be the super truther and act like everything is fake. It's really gay. So in honor of Pride Month, please stop doing that.
Dave, I saw another video of the one of him throwing the globe. Was that on the show?
So no, right after the show, he and Eddie came up with he saw the globe and made a comment and he goes, "Oh, let's do a little skit." Right? Literally everybody was kind of breaking up, going in their own ways. Let's do a little skit where you discover the globe. They didn't even have a plan on whether they were gonna say they were flat earthers or say they were globers. They literally were just improvising and being silly and stupid. And I didn't want anything to do with it. They're like, "Come in here, David, you'll do this." I was like, I didn't even know what to say. It was so fake and so gay. But the thing is, that went out first. They tweeted that before they podcasted the show. I got like 100 emails like, "Oh, is this the whole InfoWars thing?" And I'm like, no, it's coming out later. But it was just, they were just being silly. Now, people will say that was to discredit flat Earth because, he said, Alex goes, "Yeah, the Earth is flat." And what else? He's doing some, oh yeah, and Joe Biden's my president, right? Kind of match those two things together.
Right.
But they literally were just being silly, drunken kids.
That's what it looked like.
So one more thing I want to say too, like, okay, does every other flat earther not know truthers that just missed the ball on the flat earth thing? Like, I know people that are pretty woke on tons of things and they just can't bring themselves to the FE thing. Typically, they can't allow themselves to really look into it. So it's like Harrison Smith's a perfect example. That dude is based in lots of ways. He hasn't done the diligent research about FE. And typically what will happen is they'll say they have, or they'll convince themselves they know all the arguments, but they've just looked at the anti-flat earth propaganda. That doesn't mean that they're lying, bro. That doesn't mean that they're some type of show. FE is like the biggest red pill. It's like it's a lot to take in. You have to accept something that, fundamentally changes the way you view the entire world. So it's like, don't you guys realize that maybe just truthers worked at InfoWars and some of them haven't been able to take the final step? And I'll say this last thing. In fact, it's probably harder for them to do it because they're already saying things that are called crazy and written off as conspiracy theories, and then they just jump out with FE. They're probably scared that immediately undermines and discredits everything else they ever talk about. So it's probably more difficult for someone like that's built their whole career pre-flat Earth, having to fight that caricature of them being like stupid, crazy conspiracy theorists, to then come out and talk about flat Earth. So if anything, when you guys call them all these different names, and it just makes them not even care. They're like, why would I even want to be? And then I'll say one more thing. This is the actual last thing. And then when they turn around and they look at the FE community, they see the people that are flat earthers that are going out there making content are constantly being called shills and masons and whatever because they wore a certain color jacket. They're like, even if I did go to flat earth, is that what I have to look forward to? That's awful, right? So there's my take. I really think we talk about this quite a bit, but people don't seem to get it. Like, you gotta chill, man. You gotta chill. Put yourself in other people's shoes. Show some empathy. All right, rant over. Sorry.
All right. Any other questions? That's all I really have to say about it.
No, yeah, I just wanted people to know, shout out. And obviously they're being shut down now, so it's interesting. We should run with the narrative that they just did a little bit too much FE. They had Eddie and Dave on, and the feds were like, okay, enough's enough. Expedite the shutdown.
I like it.
Yeah, that's what it was. Cool.
There's a question in chat. Texas Tabla sent $5 super chat. Says, how does one do diligent research of FE? And my answer would be to go out there and test it yourself.
Yeah, go look at the Earth, and there's also this app. There's this app that has a lot of info. Does anyone know the name of the app? I forgot that.
I think it's a Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac clock app.
You can just go to flatearthdave.com.
There you go.
Is it the Gratitude, Longitude, Latitude, Royal Astronomical Society conversion clock app?
Yes.
Just for you guys, just for your little group. That's what it is, yes. But flatearthdave.com. All right, guys. Thanks. I'm
and if
around.
that's too long, they can go to Flat Earth Jew, right?
Yeah, flatearthjew.com works also. AreYouABlueDot.com, Flat Earth, TrueEarthSummit.com.
And you dropped a new shekel coin.
I did. We did drop a new shekel coin, and you get it for free. Check it out. All right.
All right, cool. Thanks for jumping on, bro. I wanted people to know what happened.
All right. See you guys.
Yeah, much love, bro.
Bye.
So yeah, that's cool, man. I think it's cool that Dave got on there. The alternative would be that they didn't get on there, right? And so whatever. All right, cool. So that's a little bit of what went on with FE this week. Obviously, we have the whole Trump insanity going on. We have InfoWars getting shut down right afterwards, and it's very interesting, that whole situation. But there's a lot going on in the world, and as I think a lot of us here would agree, that if you see through the spinning globe deception, you don't fall for any of this other stuff, and so. That's why it's important, and cool. I think, does anyone else have anything they want to cover about what kind of went on the last week, or any more adjacent topics before we get into a specific topic?
I've got Duffy coming on my channel on Wednesday, so we'll see how that goes. But people can look forward to that, 3 o'clock on Wednesday, to find out how honest is the pastor. That's about it.
Cool, so we'll get a point on the scoreboard that doesn't matter.
Yes, exciting. Yeah, so our feeling on it, we've talked about it enough weeks in a row. I'm going to make sure that he understands everything. I could mention that we've already found that there is a potential problem, and that is that the camp says you have to operate, or you have to adhere to quiet hours, which are 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. Originally, I didn't know what that meant, and then come to find out, I'm not going to say they lock you in your tent, but they make everybody go into their tents and sleep between those hours, and you're not supposed to be making any noise. So we're still emailing them to find out, can we actually go outside the tent? Because that's why we're going. That's the only reason we would go. So isn't it interesting, though, that they adhere to the same hours as Punta Arenas, which, if you think of that, that's at the southern tip of South America. And if you think 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. would be the time that we would say that the sun has set and is heading around the other side of the earth, coming back around. So people who went to Antarctica, who did adhere to the quiet hours, would go inside their tent and still see it's light outside. And then the sun would set and they wouldn't know it because it's still light and outside, and they would sleep. They'd wake up and see it's still light outside, and they would come home and tell everybody that there's a 24-hour sun, even though they didn't see the sun for 24 hours because it did exactly what we claim it will do. So we're finding out details about that, but there'll be more of this stuff coming out, I'm sure.
Yeah,
it's
quiet
cool.
time, like when you're in kindergarten and you need a little nappy nap.
Little nappy nap. Let's lock in your tent. You also, by the way, you have to bring a pee jar. So obviously you're not even allowed to leave to go to the bathroom. You have to pee inside the jar.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, dude, this
That
sounds
just sounds
totally
like a
on
fun
the up and
time.
up, dude.
It's
See,
only
that's the
31
part that doesn't make any sense, right? Because it's like, okay, they don't want you randomly exploring in the middle of the night in Antarctica. I can kind of see that
But
cover
there's
story.
no middle of the night, though. It's daytime.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, like, they just, like, if someone's if everyone's sleeping, they don't want you just running around. But you can't go to the bathroom.
Yeah, what if you have to shit? Do you have to shit in the jar?
I don't even
'Cause
know.
that's like being an astronaut. We would need astronaut skills to know how to do that.
And this is all very interesting, right? I have to say, the reason that this is worth discussion and investigation is there's a very distinct difference here. We think you're going to walk out of that tent and you're not going to see the sun, bro. So,
That's why I think it's quite a big disparity between the two, right? And it's something we thought. The other thing I keep hearing, and don't let Globers get away with this, is that they're going around. I saw Wolfie say it in comments. He's like, oh, the number one talking point of the flat earthers is proven incorrect, that nobody can go to Antarctica. Nobody's ever said that nobody can go to Antarctica. We've all said the entire time that you can go on a cruise, you can go on these little trips that take you to one particular spot. But guess what? Well, let's say that Austin and I are there, or somebody's there in Antarctica at this camp. What are the chances? It's less than a 0% chance that somebody comes walking through the camp and everyone's like, who are you? And they're like, oh, we're just exploring through here. Sorry, we just showed up here. We're just exploring.
Excuse us.
Yeah, excuse me.
Yeah, they're just walking up. They're just circumnavigating. No big deal.
They would just literally shoot them.
I'm
even on
picturing
that-
a guy standing outside your tent, Jeran, with a flashlight, pretending like it's the sun. That's like their plan.
That's so
You
funny.
can't leave the
That's so
tent.
funny. Yeah.
Even on that Mr. Beast video that they all love to talk about, where Mr. Beast went and they saw the 24-hour sun, they actually go in their tent for a while in that one too. And I wonder if that was like an enforced like tent time or something.
Yeah, I don't know. We're trying to, and I emailed them and asked them, like, hey, just to let you know, if we go down there, it's going to be to observe the sun, so we're not going to adhere to any quiet time. I said, if you mean we have to be quiet, sure, we won't talk, but we're going to be outside the tent filming the sun. So, and they didn't get back to me. I wrote like 3-4 days now. So, I mean, yeah, it is interesting to think about, but these things always come up, right? It's always these little things that just make you say, all these things can't be the case and it not be true. So it's just the chances that they don't have any 24-hour sun videos on the South Pole webcam site, right? Or that they have no Southern Sea cables, or that all these things continue. There's no cruises in the South, that the speed difference in the North and South, everything leads you to question everything we've been told. And if it's as simple as the sun circles around you at night, let's say I do go down there and the sun just does a circle around my head, I would spend the rest of my life like anti-NOAA, anti-NSF, just saying, what are you guys doing? You see that there was an argument going on here, and you purposely did not put up the evidence that would lead to the truth. You just like hid it from everybody and did all these fake things, and it doesn't make any sense.
Part that really doesn't make sense though is like if it would have to be a psyop for it to even begin to make sense, and even that doesn't make sense because it's like I was telling you, I mean, they're losing billions of dollars on different things they could do. For example, undersea cables and many different things in the South that they could make tons of money on. No one even thought of it. It's not like they showed everyone, hey, look, there's a huge difference with the South. You have to dig into it and find it. They actually show you the opposite. To think that it was all just like a psyop where they're sacrificing millions of dollars, planning it decades in advance, and then not telling you and just hoping someone finds it doesn't really make any sense. So that's why we are where we are. Like I've legitimately considered the idea that FE is some type of psyop, and it doesn't check out at all. It doesn't check out at all. And even if you believe that, what does it accomplish? Like it makes you completely not trust the system, pull your children out, homeschool them, know it's all a charade, not believe in any politics. Like it doesn't help them. You know, it makes you believe there's notice and know that there's a creator, and now you're not as controllable. So
you didn't take the pumpy pump. You didn't, those kind of things that hurt them in the long run. So I agree with you. I think that there's just no way that that's the case. So it does get pretty crazy, especially if you're a globe believer and you believe heavily in it. I could see where you're very confident in this. Like, it's definitely a 24-hour sun. They don't ever take our perspective into account. They never have, because they've never considered it. Most of them just believe it so strongly that because they were taught that flat Earth is dumb, that it must be dumb. That's what they believe, that whatever's taught in school is the truth. So they just feel like, no, there's no possible way that it doesn't happen. Whereas all these little things coming up, like at first I was thinking, it would be tough to, how are they going to get everybody? And then I see the quiet hours, and campers must adhere to quiet hours. And it's like, okay, most people that go down there are not going to go down there and think, I'm going to watch the sun for 24 hours. They're just going down there like, wow, it's daytime the entire time. And if you're told to go in your tent and you go in your tent and you see it's daytime, why would you ever question whether the sun was in the sky? Of course it is in the sky. And so this is where we're different, because from our perspective, we've been saying for 8 years that the coffee cup caustic is definitely enough to explain why there would be 24 hours of light in the Antarctic during their summer if the sun gets close to the edge. So that's why then you have to start thinking about, well, is there ways that they could make people think that the sun is out when it's not? Well, tell them to go in their tent. Guess what? Inside of a tent, you'll see light. It'll be time to sleep. You'll try and sleep, but you won't think to yourself, well, I bet the sun's not out. That's why it's light outside. That doesn't even make sense. So unless you're a flat earther. Anyway, that's coming up Wednesday. Duffy will be coming on to discuss that, answer some questions, see what he thinks of quiet time. I've also, been looking up magnetic declination and kind of getting an idea for that. It looks like the declination is about 45 degrees positive east. I don't think it changes much things, just to give people an idea. It means you're looking in the direction that you think is north, and you've got to turn more than 45 degrees to actually face north, but still shouldn't be very hard to figure out from there. So it just comes down to whether or not Mr. Duffy is an honest man, and we'll go from there.
And by the way, pretty cool little feature that Ko-fi just made. They made an activity feed for donations. So it's like a separate activity feed window, so you can keep up with it. So it's on, it's now the most recent donations will actually be in the chat box to the right on the screen. And let me go ahead and read those. Is that it? Anything else? And we'll transition over. We'll read the super chats and then transition over to maybe E equals MC squared. Cool with everyone?
Yeah, the greatest equation of all time. Yep.
All right, cool. So we got my boy Anonymous. So that's just someone anonymously donated $25. Shout out to Stephanie and Sander for hosting me at their home in NL. Yeah, shout out to you guys. I don't know who that is, but I guess he wanted to shout you guys out. So cool stuff. Thank you for this tip. Adam, very generous. $100, always very generous. Thank you so much, brother.
Thanks, man.
Don't go anywhere near those goons. Here's a hot take. You can't trust them. Yeah.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's any chance that they try and do something. Now, I would never go by myself. I'll tell you that much, because it's very easy to say, Jeran had a heart attack down there. What? Yeah, I just had a heart attack and died. That's very easy to do. If you bring somebody with you, at least it makes them have to work at it. They're not going to be able to do it so easy. They would have to say, these two people had a heart attack down there. It's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. They don't want martyrs. The trip will never happen. I mean, let's be honest. It's either going to, and if it does happen, the sky will be covered in clouds, because we know that they can make clouds. I will show you a video of NASA making clouds. Okay, they can make clouds. So it would be best in their best interest to probably have somebody like Duffy spend $150,000 or whatever it is, send people down there who see nothing but clouds. Do you think that we're just going to come back and the next person's going to be like, I'll send you down the next time? Of course not. They're going to kind of be like, oh, that sucked. I just lost $150,000 for guys to go film clouds for 3 days. So that would be the best that would happen. But probably the trip won't even happen. That's my prediction.
Yeah, like I foresee something happening. I think we should press them on it for sure. That's what I think. Tony Blair, $5. Does the coffee cup caustic work with or without a dome? I mean, the way that it can be easily replicated is a dome, but I will say, depending on elevation, like the coffee cup itself doesn't have like a physical lid, right? It's just the actual circular rim that creates it. So like higher elevation, and now in that scenario, it would be coming off of Antarctica, so maybe you'd have to get further out south and have like high elevation, and in theory you'd basically be in like a basin at that point, and that would replicate a coffee cup. So technically it is possible in many ways other than just a physical dome, but if you take a physical dome, it works perfectly. And I did a live demonstration real quick on a live stream, and it's just right in front of you. It's like, what a coincidence, this would perfectly match, right? So.
And there's certain things I didn't even think about, but when you read the kind of rules about going down there or whatever, one of the things is you have to wear these certain goggles or something, because they say that people have been blinded. And I never even thought about that, but it's like, okay, well, you think of how reflective the snow would be. So like he's talking about, the edges of a coffee cup kind of could work the same thing. You've got these high plateaus of ice that wrap all the way around. I'm not saying that the sun from one side would wrap all the way to the other, but it could definitely facilitate or help that. And there might be a reflection enough that it is look like daylight. So that's one thing we'd have to find out. But I don't think you need a dome for it. But like Austin said, if you've got any of that paperweight, you would see just in a second how easy it is.
Just to show everyone real quick, like you see, obviously that's why it's called coffee cup caustic, and like, this doesn't have a dome lid on it. They're just coffee cups. So there's kind of your answer.
What we would like to do here.
And we don't need to anyway, there are videos that explain it all. It's like a specific type of math. It's really not super complicated. It's very fascinating phenomena. Cool. So I think that will do us there. All right. So I'm going to toss it over to you, Alan, if that's cool, and or Toby or whatever, and let you guys kind of intro the subject if that works.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Ready to go whenever you are.
Well, and if you need to, share screen, and I'll get it set up.
Okay, everybody.
And I did have a video, but I can't find it now. I was going to show. I showed it a little bit last week, but it's just Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about the E equals MC squared. It's beautiful, beautiful intro.
The dude is just bro, I lose brain cells listening to that guy. I don't think it's because he's so stupid. It's because I know people think he's smart. That's what it is. That's for sure what it is. It triggers me.
Yeah, and he's just talking just nonsense, and just the things he says it's crazy talk.
All right, I'm going to set this up here.
There we go. Okay. Let me know when you're ready, sir.
Live screen. Okay, we're good.
All right, cool. Before we begin, I'd like everyone to close your eyes and bow your heads. We're going to praise St. Einstein with a little hymn. Einstein, thank you for your equation. It has helped us decipher reality by merging space and time. Cool. All right, so just wanted to give some daily thanks to my boy Big Ein. Shout out to him who ascended into the great space-time in the sky.
Praise be his name. Peace be upon him.
Big Ein.
Yep. So shout out to your boy. So this presentation is E equals MC squared. Is it too legit to quit? So we've all heard a lot of mysticism surrounding this equation. So this is going to be a history on it, so to speak. All right. So we're all familiar with the atomic bomb, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the story surrounding that. Now, most of us here have looked into those things, so I'm not going to spend too much time going on that, but we know that the end result of that is that there probably wasn't a nuclear bomb in the way that they describe it as a result of these equations, right, which are said to be physically manifested in reality and be the cause of this of that destruction. All right. So before Einstein proposed in his 1905 paper the principle, his theory of relativity, which hinges on the principle of relativity of simultaneity, meaning that two events will not be simultaneous for observers in relative motion to one another. They'll make different measurements, and this is where you get into length contraction and time dilation. That'll be relative to your velocity. And then along with that, there's supposed to be an emergent property of energy equaling mass times the speed of light squared, where there's a relationship between energy and mass, right? When you're moving at relativistic speeds, your energy has to increase, and through that proportional ratio from that equation, that's like what that all hinges on. So that's where they get relativistic mass increase and stuff like that. That's what it all comes from. So before Einstein had proposed that, though, there was experiments going on with radiation and closed spheres. And basically what they were finding is that there was an interaction where like the apparent mass of an object would increase when you radiated. So like that heated sphere would have an increased weight while it was radiating, and then it would dissipate. So basically the pressure of it was, or the pressure from the radiation was causing an increase in weight. So they had a ratio to express that, and one of the early ones was from Hasselthorne. There was a couple other guys too before him, but he was the more prominent one with his ratio. And then J.J. Thomson came along with his, which was much closer to E equals MC squared. And this came out of the cathode ray experiment. Now, for the cathode ray experiment, what they did there was, this is where they were setting the baseline for the atomic structure, for energy, for all that, for the units of measurement, for how they would then go on to build, subatomic particles and explain everything on the molecular structure, right? So what they had here was a vacuum tube, and they had an anode and a cathode and a ground behind it with a little slit in it, and the anode also had a slit. So what they were doing was they were channeling a beam of electricity through this cathode here. I mean, through the cathode, and it was funneling out through those slits, and they could funnel that, to the end of the tube where they had markings where they could take measurements. And in the centerpiece there, they had magnets and electric plates. And what they were doing was they were introducing magnetic and electric fields at different degrees of intensity, and they were seeing how much they could deflect that beam at the other end of the tube and still get a consistent measurement, still get a meaningful measurement. Like, okay, it was this much, and then now we've reduced it to this measurement, right? And this is all in relation to the strength of the electric and magnetic fields that they're introducing. So from that, they're quantifying the lowest amount of energy that they can introduce into a system and still get meaningful results and measurements. And then they call that the electron, right? And they came up with the story of the free electron and all that with the charge disparity, but that's not really the purpose of this presentation. That's just to kind of give a little history on charged particles, because that'll be relevant in the future. Okay, so back to Einstein in this 1905 paper. So remember, in the 1905 paper, length contraction, time dilation, and relativistic mass increase due to E equals MC squared are supposed to be emergent properties of the theory. what does an emergent property of a theory look like? Well, you're supposed to be able to coherently derive it, the effects mathematically, without just like interjecting. Without just interjecting it, it has to naturally flow from the theory and be able to be derived from it. So Herbert Ives put out a paper where he was reviewing Einstein's E equals mc squared and found that he didn't derive it as a consequence of the theory, and it was incomplete. Now, his critique of it was valid because later Max Planck and von Lau came through and they had to make the corrections for Einstein to quote unquote derive it as a consequence of relativity for him. And we'll touch more on that as we continue. But just to point out, people had noticed, that the math and the logic in the 1905 paper isn't on the up and up, and they would point that out, and then people would come along to try and hot fix it and patch it in later, like, oh no, like just trust us, it's definitely true. We're not making it up as we go along to retrofit experiments into what we think the new theory should have to incorporate. All right, so this is a unit analysis review on E equals mc squared from Thomas on a book called Secrets of Ether. It says energy is a unit, mass is a dimension. Energy is composed of dimensions of mass, length squared times frequency squared. Mass is not converted to energy, and energy is not converted to mass. Mass is merely a dimension from which the units are constructed. This is repetitive, but the understanding of mass is as merely a dimension is perhaps the greatest intellectual physics challenge for most people coming out of the 20th century. So the equation has pretty much poisoned everyone's mind because it's not even physically manifest in reality, but you can derive it on subatomic scales basically what they use it for is, how did they get the mass of the old electron when they were doing this? How'd they figure that out? Well, if E equals mc squared, you can convert that energy that you're putting into the system to get that deflection. You can convert that into a mass and then distribute that over a sphere. So what that 1/5 E squared over mu alpha is it's the distribution of that energy that they're over a sphere, like of an assumed radius, based off of E equals mc squared. So like there's where they're quantizing, there's where a charged particle or a quote unquote negatively charged particle comes from. And obviously there's no such thing as a negative charge. It's just literally the lowest amount of energy that they could introduce into a system. And then everything else subsequent to that is more energy, right? So, this is what happens when the electrons get together and they do a little kiss and they have an electron annihilation or a positron pair, and then they make a different energy measurement. Right. Well, they just tell a story about that particle interaction that can't be quantified, but they do have the energy output, and mathematically they got to put that mass somewhere to, for their equations, right? To have fun with it. So that's how that all works. So we'll continue on. So Ives points out that it's not derived properly, and two other people, Max Planck and von Lau, came through to fix it for him. Unit analysis, the conversion factor. Okay, so this is a really good point. This is pointed out again from Thomas in The Secrets of Ether. He says the conversion factor for E equals mc squared. We often refer to nuclear reactions on the sun, nuclear power plants, and nuclear bombs, for example, as mass to energy conversion. In nuclear power plants, the United States has been operating for 60 years. A high degree of precision applies to the measured amounts of energy and material mass passed through the reactor, and yet there is no report available anywhere that this writer could obtain that presents the data for nuclear power plants that shows that mass of fuel was exactly converted to energy according to E equals mc squared. One would think that to prove the special theory of relativity, the data would be precisely monitored and nuclear power plants would provide an abundance of evidence. Nevertheless, such data apparently does not exist. Now,
it was such nonsense. Yeah. The idea that E equals mc squares has anything to do with nuclear power and how they do it.
Dude, it's so fascinating because after the nuclear bomb, right, they militarized all these guys from the Manhattan Project and the guys that went to the Solvay conference and all the major physicists at the time, right? They all got militarized. Everything became state secrets. and everything they said and did became, gospel essentially. And if you agreed with it, you got maxed out funding, and if you disagreed with it, you were dumpster tier and no one ever heard of you again, and you're a quack or whatever, right? So there was a lot of like this guy's pointing out, it's like, well, where's the data to back this up, right? Because if this is true and there's a relationship there, and we can get into the nuclear energy stuff a little bit. So there's a Gaylor wins because they wrap this all up under that it's dangerous material and it'll kill everyone and whatnot. But what actually happens is the radioactive material just gets hot, the uranium, plutonium, all that. It just gets hot. They put it in water. It makes steam. They funnel that through a turbine. It makes electricity. And it's super clean. And that's literally simple. It. And there was a guy named Galen Windsor who was in charge of the GE plant at 3 Mile Island for several years.
Ran that place. In the pools.
He used to swim in it, and then he later went and gave press conferences after they purposely melted down the reactor. By his account, is what he says. They purposely overheated it, which doesn't even cause long-term effects, obviously, right? Because there's supposed to be long-term effects of heat.
30,000 years, 10,000 years, it'll be a desert. Yeah, right.
Right, all that kind of stuff. So, your boy went on a tour around the country eating uranium and plutonium live in front of everybody and taking, Geiger counter readings, and, was completely fine. And then he died of assumed natural causes. Some people say he died of, radiation poisoning or leukemia caused by radiation poisoning or something. But there's no, show me the death certificate first, and then we'll talk. There's different claims from different sources. So when we get to the death certificate and you have a doctor's, signature on it, we'll talk about the cause of death. But anyway, yeah. So a lot of this, equals MC squared stuff is to hide nuclear energy and whatnot. And then the nuclear decay, right? Where it turns into helium, that's just alchemy, right? And alchemy can't exist in physics.
It's all it is. It's alchemy.
Alchemy can't exist in physics, so we got to wrap that up. So guess what, guys? If anyone touches nuclear material, that's super dangerous, and they could, and if the bad guys get it, they can use it to make a bomb that'll kill everyone, unless you have a desk to hide under. So be on the lookout for that. And if you see any nuclear material, definitely report it to the military so they can come protect everyone.
Yeah, basically, nuclear power is they figure out chemical reactions, and some, like a nuclear bomb, they figure it out to happen very fast. In a lot of energy that dissipates very fast. It's a very huge explosion. Then you have your nuclear reactor, and it's the exact opposite. They find things that get very hot, but it takes a long time for the chemical reaction to take place. So you don't have to keep adding and doing more of the thing. It's just going to sit there and get really, really, really hot, and then you can make your steam to power your turbines. So it's kind of the opposite of a nuclear bomb, but it's all alchemy. All of it. It's just understanding how chemicals react with each other, and some happen very quickly, some happen very slowly. Some put out a lot of heat, some put out, not as much heat. So yeah, that's all it is alchemy.
Yep. And they've hidden that with E equals MC squared, turned it into relativistic physics. And if you don't believe in Einstein, you're actually, not a smart person. So what do you believe in alchemy over there? That's crazy. I don't know. I just have a philosopher's stone in my pocket. Do you guys want to see it? So violations of energy conversion. So in fact, there is evidence to suggest more energy of a nuclear. Oh yeah. So this guy was saying that when he was investigating this, that he actually found that there was evidence that the reactors put out more energy than E equals MC squared, right? Because it should be a directly equivalent. He's saying he found instances where it output more. Now I went to track down the source for this and couldn't find it. So take that with a salt of grains. So here's what a nuclear power plant looks like. Got your reactor here where you got your dangerous material that the bad man can't get. And then we have all these pipes to carry water flow between them. And we got turbines on the other side that when they start spinning from the pressure from the hot water, they would make electricity. And then here's a diagram of what the reactor looks like and the flow that the water would take to go through that. Very cool stuff. Figured I'd include that for a good measure. So now we're going to go on a little bit about a mathematical review and the events in the history subsequent to Ives pointing out that that Einstein didn't properly derive E equals mc squared as a consequence of relativity theory. This is Ohanian, 2009, says, although Einstein's name is closely linked with the celebrated relation of E equals mc squared between mass and energy, a critical examination of more than half a dozen proofs of this relation that Einstein produced over the span of 40 years reveals that all these proofs suffer the same mistake. Einstein's unjustified assumptions committed fatal errors in logic or adopted low speeds for restrictive approximations. He never succeeded in producing a valid general proof applicable to a relativistic system with arbitrarily large internal speeds. For the first such general proof was produced by Max Lau in 1911 for a closed system with a time-independent energy and momentum tensor, and it was generalized by Felix Klein in 1918 for an arbitrarily time-dependent closed system. So we have a case here of other people fixing this for Einstein, and we're going to look at Einstein's attempts to fix it. And why was he trying to fix it anyway? Like, if it's all on the up and up and it's a consequence of it, or of relativity theory, what is there to fix? What's the issue here? So get to that here in a second. So Ohanian says Einstein 1905 derived Einstein's 1905 derivation of the celebrated relation between mass and energy is widely regarded as one of the seminal contributions to modern physics, but he cannot be awarded to that. So yeah, he's going over the J.J. Thomson, and like I was talking about, and the Hassel-Nohr guy who had already derived that relationship using radiation. And who proved E equals mc squared mathematically, right? So these are the half a dozen plus attempts that Einstein made to rectify it. So one in 1906, one in 1907, 1912, in 1935 and 1946. So why did he keep trying it? Well, the issue is the relationship with inertial mass and relativistic mass, right? So there's this issue called covariance, right? So in math, in their math world, the laws of physics and certain things have to be the same under transformation, meaning they can't change, right? So the measured mass in the lab frame of something has to be the same. So everything has to be backwards compatible with that rest mass, right? Now, relativistic mass introduces a problem because in the mathematics that they use with energy equaling mass, there's no way to conserve energy and momentum unless you do some mathematical trickery and use a pseudo tensor that you interject to do the same thing. But because that tensor isn't of the same, what do you call it? Same dimension as the rest of the formula, it's not actually satisfying it. It's not actually like truly making the laws of physics the same under transformation. It's just giving the appearance of that under specific transformations. So in a quest to rectify that, Einstein's, that's why he's over the course of 40 years trying to make a mathematically satisfactory theory, because these people, their whole worldview is based on the elegance and beauty of mathematics to describe nature. And if you have, like, this is an egregious party foul, like, if you will, for the math lads. And then this was pointed out by other people through the history of relativity theory, and then it's kind of died off and nobody really talks about it now. But there was a guy named Stephen Crothers, who we'll touch on at the end, who points this out about the tensor issues and the dimensional the dimensional rankings of the tensors, and how if they're not all the same rank, then they're not dimensionally satisfying it in a meaningful, in a physically meaningful way. So, and this is the whole battle for everything, right? Are these equations physically meaningful? Do they represent reality? Is the story associated with them true? Right. So that's the whole thing. And to rectify this problem that anyone could point out if they wanted to go against Einstein, he had to derive it properly. So that's the whole story with that, with the tensors and the transformations and stuff. So let's see here. So the last two papers in Einstein's equals mc squared in 1935 and 1946, Einstein reverted to the original mistakes, or the mistakes he was making in his original paper. So again, he was talking about how Einstein would put restrictive properties on the equations to satisfy them. It's like, well, when you're dealing with absolute differential calculus, you can change the boundary conditions and the input conditions to satisfy, to make to make it kind of give the output that you want. And that's what he was doing right there. So he never solved it for a particle moving at relativistic speeds to conserve that energy and momentum, because like, where are you going to conserve it to? Well, you can't, because it just goes into infinity, and that's no good, because that's the whole issue with quantum mechanics, right? They got the divergences to infinity in all their equations that they solve. So, and the people, the upper echelon of the quantum lads all understood this, and they knew that what they were doing wasn't physically meaningful, and they all suspected that even though they were mathing it out correctly, some other physical process was occurring. So that's a subject for a presentation on next Tuesday that we can catch on Ether Cosmology. So yeah, that's the history of the math. And then here's Ohanian just goes over the problems in each one. So again, this is just the restrictions of the system, and then not accounting for things in a relativistic, meaningful way, where he's just like, oh, well, if I do this, then, it gives me the output and it looks like I did it. And then every time it would get pointed out, or he would realize it, and then he would just be like, okay, well, I'll just write another one over the course of 40 years and see if I can't get this right. So over the course of 40 years, he hasn't derived this as a consequence of his theory. Other people have to do it had to do it for him under different circumstances, which tells you right away that it's not physically meaningful, right? You can just have other people do it for you and retrofit it back in. It's like, all right, dude, cool. Now, here's Einstein in 1948, where he's writing Lincoln Barnett, and he's like, hey, homie, it's been a while since we've talked. How about we reintroduce the idea of inertial mass, and then we change the equations where one will represent momentum and the other one will represent rest mass, so we can actually properly do the math. Now, I paraphrased everything there, but that's essentially what he's saying there. So he's conceding that relativistic mass, as a consequence of relativity, is an untenable position, and he still can't derive it. And the other people that were deriving it for him, right, were doing it based off of this tensor situation where they're just interjecting their own pseudo tensor to satisfy the conditions. So there's different tensors that you can throw in there to try and satisfy the conditions, but they all suffer from that same dimensional rank issue. And Einstein was aware of this, and that's why he kept trying to do it the proper way. And and then here we are, 1984, and he's like, yeah, dude, maybe we should just call it quitsies on that one. And yeah, mass, there can be only one, and that's the mass measured in the lab frame. Everything has to be backwards compatible with that. All right, now let's see. What was Big Ein opting out of relativistic mass? I already explained it. All right, I think that's everything, lads.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, then Crothers gets into the tensor analysis. So real quick on Crothers. So he in Australia in like the early 2000s, he had his candidature for a doctorate, and he was doing a mathematical analysis of general relativity. And what he found was that the pseudo tensor that they're using to conserve energy and momentum isn't of the dimensions or the dimensional rank necessary to actually satisfy conservation laws, and everything that is being done and out of these equations is physically meaningless. So do you guys think he got his PhD in that, or do you think his sponsor dropped him from the candidature program? He got gaslit by the faculty. The guy in charge of the review board changed his work, and then based off of the changes that he made, critiqued his work and told him how wrong he was, and that was never properly addressed. So then Crothers, in an attempt to rectify that, reached out to the International Gravitation and Space-Time Committee, who get together every year and decide the interpretation top-down of Einstein's general or field equations and what they mean, because they're just general approximations that are so vague. They have to be linearized and reined in. So you got to get a bunch of rules from the lads on how to do that. So anyway, Crothers hits up the lads and he's like, yo, what's up with this pseudotensor situation? And the guy immediately starts popping off, gaslighting him. And then he starts replying to Crothers by like making corrections to the math that Crothers made, and then critique and like doing the same thing that the other guy did. It was a complete mess. But yeah, he does an awesome review and breakdown of the pseudo-tensor issue. If you want to see someone go through that process, it's a 20-minute video on Sky Scholar. There's a link that'll be provided in the chat here in a second for everyone. All right, and that's everything. Thank you.
Wow, that's you're saying that he wasn't like rewarded for his discovery so that we could proceed to progress scientifically?
No. He was told, hey, you know what? Every now and then someone comes along and they discover this and they think they're super smart, but guess what? You're dog excrement and Einstein is the man.
Dude,
Like
what
that.
you're implying is that, dude, this is a crazy conspiracy, man. You're implying that there's some type of like academic bias that unfairly disallows any type of opposing ideologies or evidences to enter into the realm of science. And that's not what science is, Alan. Science is that you always question and increase understanding and development. So I mean, you're implying that there's some like cabal of academic control or something.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. They did all get together in conferences over the course of 40 or 50 years to keep redefining the structure of to keep redefining the atomic structure and subatomic interactions to describe a field and perturbations within the field as purely abstract mathematics and not through the quantization of the ether. So there was that, because we all know what happened when they tried to use a fluid medium concept of an ether permeating all of space where all motion would be relative to it. We all know what happened when they tried to measure the old motion of the earth. Now they threw that out, but they still have the problem of, these pesky perturbations happening in vacuums that need to be explained. And of course, vacuum polarization. And so what doth thou do with thy energy in the vacuum if there's no ether medium?
Hey, Whitson and Alan, do you guys remember the nuclear engineer that works at the plant that I met at a get together? And he had that he was supposed to come on ether cosmology, but he inconveniently had a nuclear emergency that popped up. He had to go into the plant apparently. And Whitson, do you remember what you said to me when I told you he canceled? You told me he would never be back. And I was like, I don't know. He's a nice guy. We're good buds. But Alan, has he ever been back?
Never heard of him. I think there's still an ongoing nuclear emergency that he might be solving. So
currently he's in Iran.
dude. He's looking for the bad man, dude. He's got to stop the alchemist.
Toby was like so naive at the time. He's like, I mean, it does seem like weird timing, but maybe something did happen, I mean, and I'm like, no. What happened? This is right after he was trying to convince me climate change was real. And I'm like, no, Toby, no. What actually happened was he looked into you guys a little bit and he said, whoa, I'm not going there. What? I'm not going to put myself in any type of vulnerable position. If they're not going to come on and just bow to my expertise and superiority, I don't want any part of that. So I've been on that road a few times.
I invited him to come on and show the math for how his work at the nuclear plant validated E equals MC squared. And he kept saying, well, it's just integral to what we do. It's just integral to what we do. And I kept saying, well, yeah, how do you what's your margin of error? How are you, substantiating that? Because my understanding is you got a little bit too much entropy going, like, unaccounted entropy loss, in things that you're not measuring to make any sort of assertion like that. And so I invited him to, he kind of got put on the spot to agree to come on our thing, on our show. But those nuclear emergencies, they just, I guess, that plant must need some serious maintenance.
Well, yeah, I mean, he had to go help Israel be able to, ensure democracy. Dude, I just popped in my head, but, obviously with the second law, you have all natural and spontaneous systems increase in entropy. Entropy will increase, and then usable energy will decrease. So entropy. So simply, like, entropy is about like the loss of usable energy, basically, as systems seek equilibrium, right? And then you have no matter and energy can be created or destroyed, and that due to entropy, you can't have more output than input of energy, right? And this is kind of referred to as over unity. And so, like, people kind of refer to that idea as free energy, and of course, it's not that it's free as in it costs no money. You would have to have some type of machine and maintenance, whatever. But it's that you can actually perpetually pull the energy and output more than you put in. And people would say, oh, well, that would violate the natural laws, right? That violate the laws of thermodynamics. But with an ether, of course, it does not do that. And I realize that a lot of people don't get that concept. I think some people just repeat, like, oh, the ether could result in free energy, and they think, like, oh, you can just pull from it. That's true, but I don't think they understand why it's significant. The current materialistic science would tell you that you can't have over unity, or you can't have like perpetual energy, because everything's in the material world. And so we know how much energy there is. There you have an input into the system. The output can never be greater than that. When you have an ether, you're not violating the laws of thermodynamics. If matter and energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can be only transferred. Well, it's just constantly being transferred from basically an endless, for all intents and purposes, an infinite supply of potential, right? And so that, I would think that's probably a pretty big deal, don't you think? I mean, I think that would have huge implications on
changing.
Yeah, like that may be like one of the biggest. What does flat Earth matter? Like, what? Like, imagine like the entire interpretation of physics and energy changes immediately upon the understanding and adoption of the ether. Immediately, right? And this is why we even made the progress that we did. With the electrical grid that we have today, where Tesla was like, I mean, I'll make the AC generator. I think it's stupid, but I'll make it. And then Charles Steinmetz came in and kind of perfected it, quote unquote. But the fatherheads of electrical field theory knew that was nothing. Basically, Tesla was like kind of forced to do that. And he was not happy about it. He reluctantly did it because he did need funding. And he said that he was going to be paid, and then of course he was screwed. Edison screwed him over and said, "Oh, I was just joking. You thought I actually meant I'd literally give you that much money?" And didn't even pay him all of it. But anyway, I'm just throwing it out there for those that may not know. When you put everything into context, it's very interesting. Like Tesla, he knows obviously there's an infinite field of potential energy that can be tapped into. And so in that sense, all you have to do is kind of maintain whatever technology you put into place. That's why he was working on the Ward and Clive Tower. That was the idea. As long as you have the tower, then you're good. You have energy infinitely. And then they're like, okay, what? He's like, AC generator. I mean, he was very clearly not happy about it. He could see the possibility of it being used. Now, this is based on the writings. Some people think he didn't exist or whatever, but based on what he said, he could see that it could be used as a control mechanism, right? And it would be limiting to where he was trying to go, but we know how that ended, right?
Have you heard that Tesla was able to start an earthquake?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I heard he shook a building with like a 10-pound weight.
He did.
That's just awesome.
So you know the hotel. You guys know the hotel shook.
They say more than that, like a whole couple blocks.
Oh yeah. Just the building was that hotel, and so like the theory, and there's a decent amount of supportive evidence, including the blueprints of that building. It's like the New Yorker. It's called like the New Yorker Hotel. Mm-hmm. It was being built to be a Ward and Clive Tower in plain sight, and so that was like a way to try to kind of actually implement it. The idea being, well, Jacob Astor owns this hotel, and if we set it up to be like basically a free energy tower, well, once we reveal it, what are they going to do? Now we've supplied the city with energy, basically, was the idea. If you look at the actual blueprints, they emptied out like the corridors and the sides of the building with just the right metrics. Like it was just the same height as the Ward and Clive Tower, the same ratios. It's pretty interesting.
That guy died on the Titanic?
That guy died on the Titanic, and then immediately J.P. Morgan pulled the other half of the funding.
Right.
Yeah. So pretty crazy because
You ever heard about the whole idea about Trump's dad taking all the paperwork?
His uncle, yeah.
Uncle? Okay.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. Who knows? But like, this is another part too. That the last speech that Tesla ever gave was about his new dynamic theory of gravity. That was the last speech he ever gave.
Really?
Yeah. It was on his birthday, like his 82nd birthday or something. And so he had like a dinner party and he gave a speech that someone else wrote down. And what he says in the speech is that I have an exciting announcement. I've completed my new dynamic theory of gravity, and I'm only waiting to release it because I'm perfecting it and just ensuring that there's no possibility that anyone can even attempt to rebut it, basically, me paraphrasing. And he said, but I already completed it. And he said, once I release and reveal it, it will definitively dispel with the nonsense that is space curvature. And so he was very adamant that he had already figured it out. And with his other writings, he basically implies that gravity isn't anything. So he said, like gravity is nothing in and of itself. It's literally just an effect. It's not anything. Like there isn't. Everything's electric, and everything's magneto-reactive, basically. And so within an ether, you have displacement and excitation, right? And what people are calling gravity is just like some of the effects that happen due to the movement in the ether. So that was his idea. And that's why he says, space-time, like space curvature can't be true for the simple fact alone that space can have no properties. It's like saying that something can act on nothing. So on its face, it can be dismissed. And even if we pretended that wasn't the case, which it is, it occurs to my simple mind that due to equal and opposite reaction, the curvature of space would then straighten out. He said even if that weren't true, it wouldn't matter, even if space curvature were somehow viable. Partial paraphrasing, some exact verbatim quotes in here, but even if it were impossible and you were to ignore all of that, and he always like throws in which you can't type of thing, but it still wouldn't work to explain the motion of the celestial bodies observed. He said only the application of a field of force and the indispensable role that the ether plays can adequately explain the motions of what we observe. And so then, anyway, long story short, I was just pointing out that he then had the new dynamic theory of gravity and died right after that, right? So it may have a lot to do with the free energy thing, but I think it has a lot to do with that as well. Because, imagine if he released like a definitive refutation and proper understanding of quote-unquote gravity, and it requires an ether. The earth shall never move again in the minds of the people, So that's pretty serious. That's a pretty serious implication, I think. So who knows? It may be a mixed bag, is all I was saying.
Austin, did you see that that girl Dawn DeSalt found Hawking's thesis paper?
About flat Earth?
I've been looking for that forever, dude.
1966. Yeah, she found it. Well, I don't know if there's flat Earth, and I haven't read it so far, but he starts out by, you can tell why they punished that guy is because he starts out by saying, I'll just read you the beginning. Some implications and consequences of the expansion of the universe are examined. In Chapter 1, it is shown that this expansion creates grave difficulties for the Hoyle Narclear.
Can you send it so I can pull it up while you read it?
Oh, yeah. Let me send it to you.
Just drop it in Telegram or the chat, and I'll pull it up. That's crazy.
It's just easier.
Did she have to pay for it?
I don't know where she got it. Let's see here.
Who cares? No one has to pay for it now.
Yeah, now it's free. Where are you at?
Oh, wait, I was trying to create a GLOBEBUSTERS X account before we started, and it was giving me a bit of trouble. But so we're streaming. Say you dropped it in Telegram.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. I'll download it and pull it up.
Yeah, so just it's talking about Chapter 2 deals with the perturbations of the expanding homogeneous and isotropic universe. The conclusion is reached that galaxies cannot be formed as a result of the growth of perturbations that were initially small. So, like, he's disproving everything that they believe up till then. It's no wonder that they just backhanded him and said, now you're an invalid. Because yeah, he was basically the smartest guy, and this is his thesis paper, which basically says that the current model doesn't work. Clearly, there are several possibilities. The universe may have expanded from a. It's hard to read some of this.
I'm about to run it through text recognition.
Yeah, maybe it can come out better because this is like really, really faded. But anyway, I was just wondering if you knew that that was found, and that is this the one that you think talks about flat Earth in some way, or no, Zach?
No, I think this is his astrophysics one from 66.
Correct.
The one I was looking for was from like 63, maybe.
Okay.
From when he was a physicist.
Okay. Good. I'll ask Dawn because I don't know where she got this, but she's got connections because she's a former military, whatever. So, all right, sounds good. Just yeah, I just started reading it and haven't got very far, but I'm sure there's some interesting stuff in there people will enjoy reading. And it's pretty long.
It said it failed.
Yeah, because the writing is really, really light. It's
Yeah.
like hard to wait. Now I'm at the bottom here, and these pages are like blank, or am I just tripping? Oh, it gets a little bit easier to read,
Oh yeah, I see.
but also I'm finding a lot of blank pages in the 30s. It says 119 pages, but I'm not seeing any text on these middle pages. Oh yeah, now I'm seeing some.
Properties of expanding universe, Stephen Hawking.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, just wonder if you saw that. And then I heard, was it Toby who was saying that the guy said that the E equals MC squared is integral to his job?
Yeah, must be, right?
I'll show you this quick clip of, we'll just listen to 1 minute of it. This is Neil deGrasse Tyson explaining E equals MC squared. Let's see if he says it's integral as well. I should see it. Oops, I don't know if you'll hear the sound. Do you hear the sound?
Yeah, wait up. Let me swap it over.
Yeah. But you heard that sound?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, I have so many different sources.
I don't feel for you. I get it. OBS.
All right, here we go. Done.
Good?
No.
Almost, though.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not popping up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. It's got the box around it.
Let me go here. Okay.
Good?
Yeah, we're good.
A minute. So tell us about E equals MC squared.
There's nothing, I don't think there's anything, quote, dumbed down about the astrophysics in this book. It's all sort of curated, legitimate, full-up astrophysics in an attempt to sort of grant the reader a degree of fluency in modern astrophysics. So like the next morning at the water cooler, you could just be talking about.
Yeah, and like there are things in here that I had never heard of.
Really? And you
Yeah.
and you get around.
I get around.
Yeah, you get around.
So I'm going to be checking. But
So in the early universe, the temperature was very hot. And above certain thresholds of temperature, what happens is matter no longer stays as matter. It can freely move back and forth between itself and energy. And we have the recipe for this. It comes from E equals MC squared. We all know that equation. It's the formal conversion recipe for matter and energy. And the C squared is the speed of light squared. It's a huge number. A little bit of mass times that huge number gives you a lot of energy. We don't experience in our lives E equals MC squared because the energy in which we're immersed is not high enough to enable matter to go back and forth between energy and itself. That's why it took so long to discover E equals MC squared and to come to terms and to come to understand it. But it is a profound equation that manifests from the beginning of time all the way to the future of the universe, but not in our life experience. All right, so.
Wow. True to his job. It expands from the beginning of time to the end of time, but we just don't experience it. Now, believe me. Trust me. And he also says that in this interview, and he says that the universe doesn't have any obligation to make sense to you. And he says, so tonight when I'm talking, you may hear some things that make you say, I don't get that. That doesn't make any sense. And then you have to remember what I just said. That the universe. So the universe, as long as it makes sense to Neil, is all we should care about. Sit back and enjoy the brilliance of this man that we can't possibly.
Yeah, it's not the universe that doesn't make sense, Neil. It's you.
So I dropped a new one. It's a little bit darker, just in case anyone wants that. I dropped it. I'll drop it in the GLOBEBUSTERS as well. GLOBEBUSTERS Telegram. t.me/GLOBEBUSTERS.
Has anybody read it? Have you read it, Alan or Toby? Anybody looked at it? It's a little too high level for me.
Is Hawking?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen this.
I just dropped it in our chat as well. Let me go back over here.
Yeah, I would love
Hold it
to
up here
anybody's
now.
take on it to see if I do think they did something to him, and then they kind of put a speak and spell, and then were able to say whatever they wanted through the smartest man in the world. It's a pretty intelligent ploy.
By the way, I'm dropping.
They had to do the speak and spell thing. They had to, because that one guy standing next to him, like, he's just sitting there mumbling, probably begging for help. Stop this.
Right.
And this guy's like, oh yes, and then the black star, the black hole does this and that, and it's like, he didn't say it. You just said like 30 syllables, and he mumbled like 4.
Yeah, it's much better that he moves his cheek and it can actually move around the letters on the speak and spell computer. It's pretty cool. Just don't fall asleep. You might start saying things you want to say.
Oh, poor guy.
I know, I feel bad for him. But he does have the record for longest person living with ALS by like 25 years, which is impressive. So
He wasn't even on the list until you brought it up.
Oh boy. Well, that's because it's an embarrassment to ALS. I mean, like, you basically have like 5 years to live. Some people live 10, and he lived 45.
Oh yeah, because they had a good reason though, because his love of science.
You remember that? Yeah, that's what they said.
That's
How do you
why.
think he lived so long? How do you think he lived with ALS so long? They said, well, it's because his dedication, his love of science. It's like, oh, I'm sure everybody else who's died had no dedication or any love of anything.
Had like nothing to live for.
No children or anything like that,
Only love of science can get you through.
Let me show this.
There's like handwriting in here. Is this supposed to be his handwriting?
Yeah, why is some of it crossed out? I'm finding sections that are just completely crossed out, like I'm on page 112.
So it says here, some implications and consequences of the expansion of the universe are examined. It's shown that this expansion creates grave difficulties for the Hoyle-Narcalar theory of gravitation. Chapter 2 deals with perturbations of an expanding homogeneous and isotropic universe. The conclusion is reached that galaxies cannot be formed as a result of the growth of perturbations that were initially small. The propagation and absorption of gravitational radiation is also investigated in this approximation. In Chapter 3, gravitational radiation in an expanding universe is examined by a method of asymptotic expansions. Is that how you pronounce that word? Asymptotic? Anyway, the peeling off behavior. Oh, you guys can't even see it, huh?
No, I was watching the YouTubes.
I'm just curious. I know this. Asymptotic?
Asymptotic. Yeah.
Seems about right.
Right.
Asymptotic? Yeah.
Referring to approaching a given value or condition as a variable or an expression containing a variable approaches a limit uses infinity. Okay, so retarded. Gotcha. All right. Yeah. In infinite expansions, very, very profound. The peeling off behavior and the asymptotic group are derived. Chapter 4 deals with the occurrence of singularities in cosmological models. It's shown a singularity is inevitable provided that certain very general conditions are satisfied. This is a big problem for them now. Every time you talk to someone, you bring up the singularity, they deny it. Like that, the layman, when you start bringing up like their belief in the universe, they deny the singularity. I'm like, there's a reason that no one on your side that like is these authorities you appeal to deny the singularity. You can't.
What is that basically? It's just saying that at some point the gravitational pull becomes more than.
Oh, they can't even apply the gravitational anything to the singularity. It's just conceptual.
Right. The math breaks down though, right? Like
yeah. Black holes and singularities relativity can't even be applied to them. It's just an infinitesimally small. It's the concept of an infinitesimally small point.
That's what he means by asymptotic, by the way, is approaching that limit of that infinitesimally small point.
Okay. The idea that the universe expanding is of recent origin. Oh, how dare you? All the early cosmologies were essentially stationary, and even Einstein, whose theory of relativity is the basis for almost all modern developments in cosmology, found it natural to suggest a static model of the universe. No
That's
way.
crazy, dude. Yeah, I read that just a minute ago. I was waiting for you to get to it.
That means that the Earth is not moving, bro. However, there's a very grave difficulty associated with the static model, such as Einstein's, which is supposed to have existed for an infinite time. For if the stars had been radiating energy at their present rates for an infinite time, they would have needed an infinite supply of energy. We're just in complete fairy tale Narnia land, right? Like, there is no infinite anything. Further, the flux of radiation now would be infinite. Oh, it's a bunch of infinites. Wow, infinite time, infinite energy, and infinite radiation. Very profound. Alternatively, if they had only a limited supply of energy, the whole universe would by now have reached thermal equilibrium, which is certainly not the case. This difficulty was noticed by Olbers, who, however, was not able to suggest any solution. The discovery of the recession of the nebula by Hubble led to the abandonment of static models in favor of ones which were expanding. Dude, and why is that, class? Because if...
Absolute horror of a universe.
Oh, yeah, if it's not... if the receding... The appearance of the receding nebula is not because the universe is expanding. Well, we got a problem. Zero's in the center of the universe. Clearly, there are several possibilities. The universe may have expanded from a highly dense state of a finite time ago, the so-called Big Bang. Another is that the present expansion may have been preceded by a contraction. Oh, the crunch theory, which in its turn may have been preceded by another expansion. Yeah, see the bouncing or oscillating model. It's called the crunch theory now. However, this model suffers from the same difficulties over entropy as the static model. Finally, it is possible that the expansion may have been proceeding at much the same rate for an infinite time. I'll read this last part. It is then necessary to postulate some form of continual creation of matter in order to prevent the expansion from reducing the density to zero. This leads to the steady state model, which although expanding presents the same appearance at all times.
I say keep reading. I saw Copernicus' name down here. Right there,
What?
read the next paragraph.
Okay.
Read the next paragraph.
The early cosmologies naturally placed man at or near the center of the universe. I can't believe I almost stopped reading right there. Okay, sorry. The early cosmologies naturally placed man at or near the center of the universe, but since the time of Copernicus, we have been demoted to a medium-sized planet going around a medium-sized star somewhere near the edge of a fairly average galaxy. We are now so humble that we would not claim to occupy... Dude, this is crazy. This is like screenshot.
Yeah, this is kind of bizarre. This
Thanks,
is
Don, by the way.
him.
Appreciate you finding that.
Yeah, shout out to whoever found it. They say it has nothing to do with this, and we're misquoting people. Well, here he is once again directly tying it to the idea of humility, which, of course, he refers to it. He says you can't disprove the Earth's in the center. He just doesn't like that and chooses not to believe it on grounds of modesty, right? But anyway. All right. But since the time of Copernicus, we have now been demoted to a medium-sized planet going around a medium-sized star somewhere near the edge of a fairly average galaxy. We are now so humble that we would not claim to occupy any special position. However, observations seem to indicate that within experimental error, which is fairly high, galaxies have a spatially isotropic distribution around us. As we are not claiming any special position, the distribution must be isotropic about every point. This implies that the distribution must be spatially homogeneous as well as isotropic. Of course, this homogeneity and isotropy hold only on a large scale. Locally, there are considerable departures from both. Yo, this is so point blank. I mean, yeah, like the part that you just stepped in is like the most damning, right? Like, as we are not claiming any special position, what does that mean in the context? It's like the evidence naturally implies that we are occupying a special position.
It's not science at all to just say, because we're modest, we're just going to ignore the observations and go from there.
He's literally saying, since we went that route and we don't entertain being in a special position, now we have all these problems. That's literally what he's saying. It's literally like, as we are not claiming any special position, now the distribution must be isotropic, and this implies distribution is spatially homogeneous, blah, blah, blah. Robertson and Walker have shown that the metric of a model that is spatially homogeneous and isotropic may be written in this form. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to read ahead a little bit, but I don't see anything right yet.
No, yeah, but that's cool. We should definitely check it out. Oh, it's talking about the event horizon here. An event horizon exists when there are events that a given observer will never see. The steady state model is an example of one with an event horizon. Horizons will be further discussed in Chapter 4.
He uses the word lemma for a dilemma. So he keeps saying we use this to prove another lemma. Is that dilemma? What's the lemma? I've never heard that word. Lemma. I'll look it up. I think it means dilemma, but that's funny if you shorten that. I'm gonna start using it from now on. All the lemmas with the globe. Lemma.
Wow, this is probably a very fascinating paper, man.
A subsidiary or intermediate theorem in an argument or proof. I've never heard the word in my life. Lemma.
This guy literally starts talking about Maxwell's equations at the beginning.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah, I want to read through this.
I can't read out loud as fast because it'll be really annoying.
Word salad, even though you're reading.
Yeah. You know what's so funny? What I really wish I had an editor that would do this for me. A lot of the times when people say word salad to me, with like shortly after, there's something about like the energies that make this happen. I swear, they start mumbling incoherent, incomplete sentences. You know, like they'll be like,
which
words,
is technically word
it's
salad.
yeah, it's literally words out. It's so funny, and like that Laura Lodge still just spiraling out of control. And he was like, "You're such a narcissist that you're just trying to use some odd, rigid definition of word salad." I'm like, "No, you're a narcissist. You think that your personal, subjective, fluid, arbitrary definition takes precedence over the actual definition. Like, wouldn't that be narcissist? Like, my definition, But anyway, I just think it's funny.
Definition says he's like, my definition says, and you're the narcissist.
Yeah, dude. And I'm like, do you know what definition means? It's called definition because it's like rigid and defined.
It's been defined.
It's like a defined shape or object, a shape that has definition. Right? That's what it literally is, because it is rigid. That's why it's called that. But whatever.
All agree upon it. It's this is what we say is reality. Like, 2 is not just one apple, but you have, another one. So that's 2. That's reality. You can't go changing that. And they try.
Yeah, because there's a video that Matthew on X made, and it's got like a smash up of some of my debates. And you remember that there's another Harrison guy that's got like fuzzy hair I debated on MTV. He's the guy that ended up later. He admitted, he was like, "Yeah, so I intentionally used tons of fallacies. I don't think that the audience is smart enough to know, and I just wanted to convince them not to look into anything he says with emotion." But anyway, he says, like, he calls what I said word salad, and I'm like, "Which words did you have a problem with?" And he's like, "Say them again." I'm like, "Centrifugal, divergence." Yeah. I'm like, so that means out from the center. And then he starts just mumbling, like literally mumbling incoherently. Literally. I'm like, dude, how many times have I not noticed that happens? I think that would be a hilarious clip, like someone calling saying
that might have been my favorite one too. That one.
Yeah, I think
he was just waiting to say word salad. You could tell it was like right from the beginning.
Oh yeah, he interrupted me to say it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it would be funny to have like a clip of like all these people accusing me of word salad, and then literally like using word salad.
To properly point out someone's word salad, you need to be able to say like, "No, see, you said this word followed by this word, and this word means this, and that word means this. And these two things are incoherent with what you're trying to say because of X, Y, Z." Like, you need to understand the words that the person is saying. Otherwise, you're not in a position to even know if it's coherent or not. So how are you going to say whether or not it's word salad?
It'd be like me reading this paper from Hawkins and being like, "This is word salad."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
I swear, I should literally say words that, like, when they start, because they get nervous when you put them on the spot, because they can never admit the flat earther knows more about anything. Like, if you knew more about how, like, a car engine worked, it would just, like, devastate them, you know? Like,
you can't have that.
Yeah, so when you put them on the spot, they'll start, instead of saying they don't know, they'll literally just start, like, mumbling out loud, because their brain doesn't have any answer, And I should start calling it out. I should be like, "Words out, words out."
It's funny that you say that after you like after they call out word salad to you, they tend to do word salad because it's probably just, the manifestation of them starting to get flustered with the fact that, they're up against like an intellectual point that they don't even understand. So they start.
Exactly. That's why there's a correlation. Yeah, the correlation is because it's normally said when they start getting flustered and have to hand wave dismiss the argument. Yeah, but anyway, I was trying to break that down to the Soy Lodge, but I'm like, this guy has no chance. I mean, I'm like, you do realize that everyone above a room temperature IQ knows that when you do that, you're just trying to dismiss all the arguments. Like, you're just trying to hand wave dismiss them. So it isn't actually, like, smart people just think that that's ridiculous and embarrassing. Like, if someone makes a coherent point and your rebuttal is like, they think if they say word salad, that's like a home run they can always pull out where they automatically don't have to rebut the point. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it is. It's just like
it's their scientific race card.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly. It's like calling someone homophobic. It's like now you're automatically right no matter what. But yeah, also I like that too, like pointing out that NASA's gay. And then someone being like, "Oh, what do you? Is there something wrong with gay?" And you're like, "What? No. Are you saying NASA's not? You're homophobic. They say they're gay. What is wrong with you?" I don't know. Oh, cool, man. Yeah. Anybody else got anything they want to talk about?
What else we got? I'm trying to think of what else is going on this week.
I know the head of NASA's been being grilled by senators. I think it was the one who said that the backside of the moon's always dark. That guy.
Bill Nelson.
Yeah, and he's pretty much saying, we're not going to go anywhere unless it's safe.
Oh, wait. Didn't we just have like a super important revolutionary step for mankind in terms of space exploration? Oh, we did. You guys don't know.
I don't know. No.
Okay, I got you guys. Don't even worry. I would hate for you guys to go out into the world and embarrassingly not know this.
I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah, man, I got you, bro.
Like Jim Carrey reading the thing in Dumb and Dumber. We landed on the moon.
All right, check it. I got you. Let me make sure I hide my messages there.
Yeah, here I can only see the Einstein. I mean, the Hawking paper.
Yeah, touche. I forgot to change for you guys. All right. There you go. I know he posted it. Let me transition to them. Here we go.
That looks real.
Whoa. Wow. Guess it's time to cancel the channel.
Oh, that's real.
I thought it froze, but no, it's just that bad.
Wow, that's good stuff right there.
How are you going to argue with that?
You can't. It is what it is.
Just wait, bro. It gets so amazing.
Some things are just fundamentally true.
That's a little bit better than the 64 graphics.
Bro, it's 2024.
From the India one.
It's 2024, bro.
I mean,
it's different though. It's harder than you think.
You can make something in AI like in 10 minutes, probably way better than this.
Well, there are programs right now that can normally
look at
detect
that.
Contact lag.
Cool.
Yeah. So now you guys know Chang E6 landed on the moon's south pole.
Do you think of how expensive GoPro cameras are? They're like $600-700 if you get a really good one. So I could see why they can't really put those on the crafts.
Yeah, there's literally no logical reason that in 2024 they wouldn't be showing real video, even if it was not that good.
It's just so bad. How many times can you take excuses for these guys? That's why, I mean, if you're a Glober, it's like at some point after 9 years, do you not get embarrassed with yourself, or you just are so just cocky about science? You're just like, I could just keep saying it's going to happen, keep saying these things are real.
Well, I don't
And
know if
these
you guys
people are-
noticed, but all these videos, they always have scientists clapping. And so you guys must be missing that part because I clearly see official scientists clapping after all of these. So I don't know how
You think they're all in on it, dude? That's what I'm
they
saying.
don't make any sense.
Exactly.
Explain that first. Who's your real dad?
They all did a seance right before this. That's what we believe. Dude, Robot Polisher said he posted this a year and a half ago, so that's probably pretty funny to watch. It's about kind of what we started with, Jeran talking about the moon
I like
thing.
that guy, whoever that guy was that was talking seemed hilarious. I don't know the angry astronaut it was called or something.
Yeah, but he's obviously still into space stuff, I guess. But let's see what Robot did a year and a half ago. This really elucidates the point, if it's kind of what I assume it to be, that we know the whole time. Isn't it funny that we know the whole time they're not going to go? Isn't that interesting?
So funny, and then it will never get credit for ever. You know, it'll just be that guy will make a video saying about me that, you know, oh well, space travel always is delayed, and you knew that, and that's the only reason you bet this is. I mean, it's like, okay, guy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's such cope. It's very similar to the genetic modification.
So
yeah, but it hasn't been just delayed anymore, right? It's like
yeah,
not happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he's pointing out that like they already had deleted and that's not going to happen, right? A year and a half ago. How did he know that? How'd Jeran know to make a bet?
Made it 2 years ago.
You got lucky, bro. You got lucky.
And then I even gave the guy an extra year because he cried about it and said like, oh, now I realize that they haven't even launched any tests. I'm like, yeah, that's why saying 2023 by all these media outlets is a joke. And then he said, well, I think they'll launch in 2024. I'm like, okay, I'll bet you that too.
Well, me and Kosho bet 25 grand that they wouldn't actually land people on the moon before 2025 was over. And he's recently come to me and like, all right, man, look, here's the deal. I'm like, he's like, dude, look, okay, I'll even work for free out at NASA. I'll go in and like legitimately do good undercover work and talk to these astronauts. I'm in Texas and stuff like that. Because also he knows that like I wouldn't actually even make him pay it. You know, that's the funniest part about it. Is like I wouldn't even make it. Yeah.
There was a guy on YouTube or on Facebook that said, I'll give $5,000 to anybody who can debunk this Dave McKeegan video, which was so easy because it was just Dave McKeegan saying that we can use the EXIF data on photographs to prove that the photographs of the, or whatever, I forgot it was the moon or the ISS, whatever it was, that they were real. I'm like, dude, EXIF data can be changed. Give me my $5,000. EXIF data is not cemented. It's definitely not. It's not, anybody can make it. There's programs out there that are EXIF changers. You can go in and change the date, change everything you want. All the data can be changed. So I'm like, how is that? It's like, debunk this video. It's like easily done. But again, I didn't go after his money.
Yeah, but that's not, because they're the ones that are actually dishonest. But anyway,
right.
Like I would actually like if this somehow like, okay, I made it clear to him, like, okay, that doesn't just mean that they'll claim it, right? We'll look at it, but I'll say like if they even claim it, I'll still owe you money. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like I was gonna say, oh well, I think it's fake anyway. That'd be bad faith.
I did that with this bet. I even, the guy even said, and I said, he's like, you can't say, oh, but that's fake. I said, no, all it needs to be is those guys going around the moon and they show out the window the moon and there's people in the craft like Tim Dodd. That's enough for me. And even if I think it's fake, the fact that they even did that, I would still pay him the $500.
Same. That's basically what I said. Yeah, like just they actually portray to the world with actual video that they supposedly went and landed people on the moon again. And this was when they were saying that they were going to go in 2024. I'm like, no, they're not going to go, right? So anyway, I just think it's funny because even Kosho's coming and be like, all right, man, Austin, check this out. Like, I don't think they're going to go. I don't think they're going to get there in time. So, but yeah, let's check this out. This might be funny.
I'm going to the moon.
Can't hear it, Austin.
Sound on this one.
Like, literally, so I'm going to the moon. Like, literally, I'm going to go to the moon. And that is absolutely as ridiculous as it sounds. I genuinely still can't believe it. And what I'm most excited about is being able to bring you guys along on the ride with me as best as I possibly can. My mission on this trip is to help share our experiences with you. Potentially even through some live streams, maybe. And if they go well.
Not everybody can be a robot polisher.
Really cool videos planned for my journey around the moon. And hopefully they'll help the average person not only understand spaceflight a little bit better, but also it helps them appreciate the magnificence of our
delicate little existence
amongst the
vastness of our universe.
Yo, think about how telling that is. Look, filmed by me in my backyard.
Yeah.
Filmed by NASA 200 miles away.
If it's 200 miles away, it should be number one. It's 65,000 times about 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 or 5 more. So 65,000 times 4, at least 500,000 then times as bright as it is from the Earth. Does that look 500 times?
It's less bright.
That's a lie. It's word salad.
Oh, dang. Okay, well, let me reformulate my thoughts. That's what I'm going to start saying. So I got to find out something funny. I think the number one way to combat it is make Witsit's word salad dressing and actually sell it.
I think it is a good idea.
That's awesome, dude. Witsit's word salad.
And every time they say it, I just shamelessly grab it off my desk, put it up into the camera, and plug it.
It comes with a sprinkling of lies.
Delicate little existence
amongst the
vastness of our universe.
Try to answer your questions as best as I can about this stuff, but there's some stuff that I just won't be able to talk about. That's gonna do it for me for now, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. And soon, I'll quite literally be doing that.
That is so ridiculous.
Not everybody can be a robot polisher.
Would each of you give us your estimate of what is the meaning of this to all of us?
Let's try that. After you the entire program, it's a beginning of a new age.
Look at that frown.
Dude, like what? A new age of deception?
Beginning of a new age.
You really...
Bro, how is that? I mean, their excuse is that they were really tired and the flight crews are so dishonest that they don't show them laughing the other times. It's like, no, that's not the point. The point is that when they're... Yeah.
And it's not really tired. They were in quarantine for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, and they say their main argument is that flat earthers don't show the parts of the interview that they're laughing. It's like, that isn't the point, though. The point is that when they're asked point-blank questions and they now have to lie specifically about it, there are certain things that cross the line of even their subconscious, like moral, like line or whatever, right? Where they can't help but show that they're lying, and they look sad when they should be excited about that answer.
Communication is physical, So much body language. You can read a person with body language when you get good at it, especially. But yeah, he's upset.
That linguistic guy did the best job I've ever seen of just really breaking down that Neil cannot say the word I. He'll never say I saw this, I did this, and one would see this, one would do this. It's so clear, and he's a linguistic expert, and he says that's never how somebody describes something that they were a part of. You would always use the word I. It's a qualifier. It's a personal qualifier. You don't talk like that unless you're speaking metaphorically or about something that you didn't do. Anything that we've ever done. Jeran, did you like going to Hawaii? Well, one would enjoy going to Hawaii, and one might see water there and see. I mean, that's just not how we talk, and yet we have to believe that that's how Neil talks.
Yeah, and what's also interesting, I or we, right? But what's interesting is that if you were basically trained, so like if you were given documents and like a story that you were trained, you had to learn it, that is how you would say it. Because that's how you actually retained and integrated the information. So you're going to be like, well, this is how it would be because that's what you were told. This is how it would be. This is what you need to know. So that's pretty interesting, right? I mean, but my point is like they all think about it's like me saying, hey, look, here's a video of your girlfriend cheating. And then someone says, how dishonest of you to show me that video. What about the 30 minutes before that where she wasn't cheating? It's like, what, bro?
Yeah, and then it's also weird because you could watch that whole interview. Like, just anyone that was fooled by that comment, just go watch the whole interview because that's what I did. And I never saw any of these edits, and they're pretty great. But I mean, from start to finish, those guys are ready to get out of there.
Yeah, they're not happy with some portion of that.
This is maybe the most telling part right here, though, because why does he look down like he just saw puppies get run over?
Yeah.
Watch how he looks down. You're talking about a new age of exploration, the pinnacle of human achievement, a whole new frontier of understanding and exploration. You're talking about
a great old time. Why would it be that question would cause a problem for you when it's the main point of the whole thing?
It makes our point even stronger that they laugh at other times.
Yep, it does.
Yeah. So, but the thing about you have to lie to yourself to not at least point out, yeah, this is sketchy right here. Like, this is crazy.
The entire program, it's a beginning of a new age.
Looked like he was almost fighting back tears right there.
Yep.
Yeah, for real.
Engines and rockets that I just spent 2 years of my life researching.
And I mean, people would say, well, why would these guys lie? Why wouldn't they just come out and say it? How many people have you covered, Jeran? Crazy, weird accidents besides Gus Grissom around people at NASA that the one guy in his car with his family on the train tracks?
Yeah. Robert, what's his name? Thomas Ronald Barron.
Yeah.
People forget. I've even heard somebody saying that story the other day, and I wanted to like yell at them and scream because they were saying, "Oh, and this was killed, but he was killed by a train." It's like the NASA owned the train. It came out of a NASA switchyard. This is not a question. There's 2 witnesses of it. One of them worked for North American, and one of them said they would never speak about it. And yeah, and the crazy thing about it is one of the daughter survived, and she's the one who said, "There's no way that my dad was committing suicide because we got in the car and he was trying to get us all to put on our seatbelts." And it's funny because she didn't put on her seatbelt and she ended up surviving by not putting on her seatbelt, whereas everybody else died because they got ran over by a train. The wife, the father. But she's like, we were going out to eat. We got in the car to leave to go out to eat. He was getting mad at my sister and I for not putting on our seatbelts. And then this train just ran them over. And it was a place he crossed every day, twice a day, on the way to work and the way home from work.
By the way, yeah,
that's going on.
I was assuming that everyone knew about this, but maybe they don't. But
Yeah, I would definitely.
yeah, let's play this. I was there. I actually spoke before this. I did terrible though, and then he got cut off. All right, if you haven't seen it, I mean, we'll just play it. This is Justin Harvey, the same guy that went super viral for calling out NASA back in the day. And he posted this to his TikTok, got 500,000 views super quick, and they banned his account. But on X, it's still getting millions of views. So if you don't know, he went to the Brevard County Commission's office, or commission meeting, and yeah, let's see what happened.
Good morning, commissioners. Today I come here asking for your help, but first a little backstory. I think we all remember the Challenger explosion that took place in 1986 that tragically took the lives of all 7 astronauts on board. It launched not too far from where we're standing here today. Well, the interesting thing is, a couple decades later, this thing called the internet came about, and someone allegedly found almost all of those astronauts alive and well, many using the same exact names. As you can see here, we have Challenger astronaut Judith Resnick and also Judith Resnick, Yale law professor. Michael J. Smith, the pilot of the Challenger astronaut, and also professor at University of Wisconsin, now retired Michael J. Smith. Commander Dick Scobie, who is now president of Cows and Trees. Now, if you'll notice, they all have the exact same faces 30 some odd years later, the same exact name, and they are the same age. Now, we all have a doppelganger out there, right? No big deal. But to have the same face, the same age, and the same exact name is extremely rare. So rare, I could only find one case in the last 120 years. And we're supposed to believe that 3 people from one spaceflight have exact lookalikes that have the same age and same exact names. This, ladies and gentlemen, is beyond statistically impossible. Ms. Resnick was questioned at Yale by a journalist, and she panicked and ran from the camera. Why? Mr. Michael J. Smith was also questioned, and he said, yeah, we look alike, but that's not me. You can see both of these exchanges in a film called Level with Me, and you can be the judge. Mr.
Sir, I'm going to
Scobie
have
not
to.
only
I'm
has...
going to have to stop.
Sir, this is
you.
a public comment.
I know what it is, sir. I'm very familiar with the public comment.
Okay.
And part of the public comment is that you're only allowed to address things that we have jurisdiction over. We have no
I have a direct request at the end of this that is in your purview, sir, please. I do. Can we hold the time, please? I have a direct request that...
Yeah, so they just kept running the time while he was doing this, and then the other lady said like time. They just like when he's talking, you only get 3 minutes to talk. So sorry, I just pointed out you only have 3 minutes to talk, and this guy starts talking, and they just keep his clock running. Like it's ridiculous.
Sir, please. I do. Can we hold the time, please? I have a direct request that...
Listen to me.
Okay.
Very carefully. Mr. Richardson, would you give an opinion in regards to this, please?
Yes, public comment is reserved for issues or topics that are under the jurisdiction or control of the county commission or that are relevant to the business of the county commission. So if your request at the end is going to explain why that falls into any of this, make that request now before you continue.
Absolutely. So as I was saying, I'll just end it with what I was ending with. But the ask is that Ms. Pritchett, who knows very well about questioning science, whether it be COVID or fluoride, I'm just asking you all to question the science here. Your Goodson and Pritchett, your district covers the Kennedy Space Center. This launched from the Kennedy Space Center. You have the ability to help me in sounding the alarm and asking the federal government for help. If this is contained in your area, I should be able to at least address something that happened here. Don't you agree?
That's not within the jurisdiction or authority of the county commission.
Thank you very much.
Will you let me finish for at least 10
No,
seconds?
sir, you're finished. Thank you.
Thank you for taking away my freedom of speech today in here.
I did not take away your freedom of speech. There's a.
Yes, you did.
I don't want to hear it from you
Just
people
because
down here.
Just because this is an uncomfortable
Stop.
topic.
Officers, please remove this man from the room.
You just violated the First Amendment.
I didn't violate the First Amendment.
No, he
violated
didn't.
the rules.
This is a limited public forum, and the meeting is for the purpose of the business of the county commission. It's not for this purpose.
Now,
Thank
if you want to go too, take him out too. Officer, take him out also.
Everyone just calm down. They can leave willingly.
Wow.
No, we're leaving willingly. You don't have to remove us.
You just made a decision about NASA. You're making your decisions based. All right. Well, you violated the First Amendment already.
Thank you very much for your opinion.
Yeah, maybe check reading it out again.
These astronauts are alive, by the way. Look it up. You can't have 3 doppelgangers. You can't. Same face, same name, same age. It's impossible. Look it up. Statistically impossible.
On Point Behavioral Center's right down the street. That's where I suggest you go.
Just because you think this is a mental problem, I should still be able to talk. It's your opinion, sir.
Have a nice day.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Yeah, y'all have a good one. All right, take care. Thanks. As I was saying, before I was rudely interrupted.
The cops apologized to us.
And my First Amendment was violated during a public comment period here in Brevard County. I was saying that Mr. Scobie is the most interesting because not only does he have the same age, same face, same name, same slanted eye in the cheek if you look very closely. Get this, he created a company called Cows and Trees, and the promo video has a cow blasting off strapped to a rocket, leaving a smoke trail eerily similar to that of the Challenger explosion. You couldn't make this up if you tried. That's why I today am calling on the Brevard County Commissioners to stand with me in demanding the Senate Subcommittee on Space Science open a new investigation into the Challenger explosion. Because if this is all one big coincidence, no big deal. But if it's true, people watch what they believe were 7 people blown up on live television, inflicting emotional and psychological trauma on millions of Americans. And we deserve to know why on earth something like that would be done. And like I was saying to Commissioner Pritchett, and Commissioner Goodson, the only reason I'm back in here is because NASA ignored my last request and was completely unresponsive about the ISS discrepancies. I was blocked by their public affairs officer after one polite request. Commissioner Pritchett and Commissioner Goodson cover the area that contains the Kennedy Space Center. So I was just simply hoping that they would be able to help me in some way since it is their territory. I still thank them for their time, and I wish I was able to finish my speech, but we finished outside, and that's good enough. I hope we can get some transparency with NASA one way or another.
Pretty epic. Pretty epic.
Awesome.
And like I said, I did a speech before that, and so I guess I'll give a little bit of exclusives here. So we basically trapped them. I came up with a very creative way to where it is in their jurisdiction. Okay. So I gave a speech right before this, and like I said, I didn't do good. I was like reading off a phone, and I wrote the speech driving there. So, but what I said was, well, you know, we have these astronauts coming and interacting with our children and students in our county schools. And so that is a cover, right? And they didn't stop me. So now they're kicking him out. That's a major problem because we won't get into all the specifics. The point is that, like, they're in trouble, and we're actually going to be filing a lawsuit, and there's really no way out of it. And then he made the comment that it was a mental illness, showing that he had a personal bias against the viewpoint. And so you can stop it based on,
It's a slam dunk once he kicked you out, once he stopped him and took his time away and didn't allow him to reclaim his time after he interrupted him. There, that's all you guys needed.
Well, it's a bit nuanced, right? Because obviously we've learned a lot about it with Alex Stein and his things, right? So it isn't an entirely open public forum, meaning you can't just go in there and talk about anything you want to, although people do that all the time. Right? Technically, it's like, well, it has to be something that they can even do anything about, or in theory has something to do with them, is their cover. But the problem is they let me go in there and just talk about NASA. And then they kicked him out because clearly what he was talking about was super emotional for them. So now they're going to have to come up with some legal argument as to how mine was different than his. And what he does is he points out, and of course it isn't his count, it's in their county. But anyway, the point is that he says it's a mental illness. What he then did was say that he had an emotional bias against the viewpoint, meaning the topic can be determined if it's relevant, but the specific position or viewpoint on that topic, you cannot censor based on that. Does that make sense? So I won't get all too. So there's no way they're screwed. So they go on a break until like July, but we'll be going back in there, and this is going to be epic. By the way, it costs quite a bit of money to be able to file the suit, even though we have a dope FE attorney that will do it on contingency. There are still fees to file it and stuff like that, right? So we need to start it. We actually need to start like some type of fundraiser for that, for me and Justin to push that suit, because this could open up everything where now people can go in and even talk about FE based on their ruling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to take too much time to go into all the details, but it's actually a huge deal. It's super epic what's about to happen. So there's that. But shout out to Justin, obviously.
I hope you guys don't get railroaded on this one. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
What I'm saying is, okay, it doesn't matter. When we go back in there, once they know that there's a suit, they have an option. They can kick us out again. That's really bad for them.
Mm-hmm. So
now if they're not going to kick us out again, what does that mean? We can say what we want to.
Yeah.
Okay, so now imagine, you think this stuff goes viral. Imagine flat smacking them. Imagine me talking about, so like the cover of like, okay, you're teaching heliocentrism in school. Here's 3 minutes of like rapid facts about how that isn't a scientific fact that you're teaching it to the children.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of these people step down. You're seeing this stuff more and more and more, especially with First Amendment auditors going in to do this type of thing as well, and then violating their rights and learning that they don't get to just make up the rules as they go, that there's laws.
Good morning, commissioners.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be so epic, man. This is why I called out to audit NASA. I was paying all that for the Mighty Network. Screw that. We're gonna build an audit NASA Discord. We have the Telegram, but we need people to start going through some of this footage to find examples of all these people explicitly talking about all kinds of things that are quote unquote out of their jurisdiction, and them allowing it to show the double standard. And then we also need to get the specific codes that are applicable. So we need some researchers to help. And it's like perfect. This is what like Audit NASA was created for. So yeah, if people, now I got so much going on, but like if people can message me on Telegram and stuff, and even maybe help me build the Discord, we'll try and get it where we'll have like a little workplace in the Discord. So yeah, I won't go too much into that, but I think this is epic. So you see, it's got 4 million views here. There's like 6 different versions that have millions of views.
That is awesome.
And Justin was really frustrated, and it's so funny. When I went in there, I said that they may stop you, but I'm like, if they stop you, it's gonna go more viral. And then afterwards, he was like, he was frustrated. I said, dude, this is not a bad thing, bro. This is good. Because I was like, you can't fully explain this in 3 minutes. The idea that they faked that is a lot to take in. Someone needs to really do their research. But if you plug the level movie and whatever, like you're not going to fully convince people just in 3 minutes, right? More than likely. So the point is it's good they kicked you out because now it's going to get in front of more people because it's like, oh, well, this is like a First Amendment issue, regardless of what he's saying. And so, he's just a boomer that gets triggered, right? So it's like going to go viral, and then people are going to look into it. So this is better, in my opinion. Now it's actually even better than that. Once we've talked to an attorney, it opens up the door for like what they can and cannot stop in the future. Okay, so this is super epic. And this is going to now get into where now Audit NASA needs to slide in, and in your areas, see, now we can start setting precedents because they have to make specific legal argument to defend themselves against this. They'll drag this out for a couple years, doesn't really matter. Once it's filed, they are going to be like on the defensive if they kick you out. And same thing with Alex Stein, right? That's what happened with Alex Stein. Like they're so scared to kick that dude out now that he just went like 10 times crazier. And they're terrified of kicking him out, and that's because there's been suits filed. And yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I don't know what you guys think, but you see, this is a glitch. You get like 4K recording, perfect audio, right? All done for you. Sometimes even different angles, and it's just like it's like perfect to go viral, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
especially
I think it's
when
cool.
you get kicked out like that. Yeah,
exactly.
When you get the guy triggered, that's money right
And
there.
dude, I could have started debating him because I did a lot of like First Amendment research when I did my free speech case, and like people like make so much fun of me and gaslight me so much, dude. Like almost none of them have read my motion though. So like, go read my motion. I still think I could win that case, but my point is I know a lot about what it means by non-public forum, public forum, not entirely open public forum. I know all this stuff, right? And that's why I made a specific legal argument to that guy. I said, no, you just made a decision regarding NASA, and that's because they debated for like an hour before that, talking about how the ability to continue rocket launches there was like a priority in what their final decision was about that topic. So they're making their decisions based on NASA. The whole county's economy is based around NASA. All their decisions run through the lens of NASA, right? And I had just pointed out that you guys are using it as primary decision making, and you're letting them talk to our children in our county schools. So how is that not having anything to do with you? So anyway, I won't rant too much, but I'm like pretty excited about this. We'll need some people to rally around in terms of like helping look through kind of like the books, look through the previous videos to find people talking about stuff that has nothing to do with it. Because people come up like if you go to 2020, you'll hear people talking about BLM and the plan, like BLM specifically. What does that have to do with them? What does someone just ranting about like being black have to do with them?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
there's all kinds of stuff that people will find.
No, yeah. And like I talked about NASA right before this. I mean, I don't know. Toby's seen it. I'm kind of embarrassed of it, or I would play it, but it's bad.
Toby
It's
should
not
be.
that bad. It's
really
like I
bad.
told you, it's not your best work, but it's still, I think you should have published it because it's still just a good message.
Do you think I should just play right now?
GLOBEBUSTERS exclusive.
All right, I'll do it.
Ooh.
I'll do it.
This is what you get when you watch GLOBEBUSTERS. See.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed by this though. By the way, like I did really bad. I stuttered. I messed stuff up. I wrote a whole speech.
That is to do.
Yeah, well, yeah. See, Justin, he tried to tell me to, and he's like, I'm just kind of good at it now because I've experienced it. So like I'll be better the next time because I'm not going to read off of a phone. I'm just going to look them in their eyes and talk. It's going to be totally different. But when you have to read, it's like weird. And I actually got nervous, which is I was really not expecting to get nervous. So it was like really bad. I'm like embarrassed, but I'll show you. And then I had a whole speech written, and then I'm realizing like halfway through, I'm not even going to get halfway through my speech. So then I'm having to like pick and choose where I'm going to read and what I'm going to add. And it's like really bad. I stutter, I mess up, my voice goes out. It's pretty bad. But yeah, I still think that people should be doing this more often. It's not to like change the world because some county commission board hears your point. It's nothing to do with that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's about going viral and then setting a precedent. All right, let's see what we got here.
I like it, man.
Okay. Why not? I'll just play it. I'm so embarrassed by this. It's so bad. I don't really like people trying to tell me it's not bad. It's like, we all know it's bad. We all know it's bad. It's okay. I know you're trying to be nice, but
I haven't seen it yet. I can't make comments.
yeah, well. All right. Let me pull it up.
You definitely properly lowered people's expectations.
I will say one thing. Like when I play back something like I recorded, like on the guitar, I hear every little tiny mistake that I make, and I just cringe every time I hear it. But other people hear it and they love it. You know, they're like, "No, that sounded cool like that, though. Like you did it on purpose." And it's like, so yeah, maybe it's not as bad as you think, Austin.
No, it is. It is. And the reason it was so bad too is like, I thought Justin was going to go first. So he signed in way before me. And then they called me first. And so I was like, what? I wanted to watch Justin do it. Yeah, I wanted to watch Justin do it, but whatever. I obviously have to play it now, so. Just give me a break, man.
Give him a break.
Yeah.
We're all only human.
Well, you're like me though. You don't watch your own shows, right, Austin?
No, are you serious?
Yeah. People are
You're gonna
like,
lose, like-
"Dude, why don't you do clips of yourself?" I'm like, you mean watch myself? No, I'm not gonna do that. I
Yeah.
don't have time.
You're gonna lose like 3,000 subs.
Yeah, people like, did you watch your debate back and all this stuff? Like,
No.
not a chance, dude. It was painful the first time. All right. Here, this should work. You guys should hear it too, I think. So, wait, do you see it? No, you guys don't even see it. All right. And boom. All right, cool. Here we go. Without further ado.
All right, we're moving on to the second phase of public comments. And Austin Witsit, you're up. Good afternoon.
Good
Almost.
afternoon. So
Go
my name is Austin Witsit from Orange County. I'd like to thank you guys for the opportunity to speak today. So I'm here to discuss a matter that concerns not only the integrity of our institutions, but also the education and future of our children. As the rocket launch capital of the world, as it was put earlier, we must demand greater transparency and honesty from NASA, especially regarding the information and interactions they have with students in our county schools. This is especially true when the activities of NASA are being utilized as a primary factor of decisions made by the board. NASA has, of course, been actively engaging with our community, particularly through activities at Kennedy Space Center, as well as interactions with our children in school, highlighted in a Florida Today article, Brevard students participate in astronaut training. So, while such initiatives are commendable in principle, there are serious concerns about the accuracy and legitimacy of the information being presented, especially to children. It's come to our attention that these astronauts may be engaging in deceptive practices. For example, multiple instances have been documented where objects are consistently seen
dropping in free fall on the ISS, which is of course allegedly in zero-G environment. Forensics video analysis has been conducted and subsequently proven that the physics observed in these videos are consistent with that observed in zero-G plane flights and gravity environments on Earth. It is thus scientifically impossible they were actually filmed in space. Further, such analysis has revealed the use of augmented reality, overlays, harnesses, video manipulation, as well as consistent communication delays. Inconsistent. These anomalies raise legitimate and important questions about the authenticity of the space activities portrayed by NASA. Furthermore, these concerns are not being addressed openly. When citizens attempt to raise these issues, particularly through online platforms, the comment sections are often turned off, stifling public discourse in direct violation of First Amendment rights. As a public entity, NASA has a responsibility to maintain open channels for communication and accountability. This effectively amounts to the children in our county schools being actively propagandized, while there exists an outright suppression of the public's ability to redress grievances. In this country, we do not allow our government to forcibly indoctrinate and propagandize our children through the public education system by outright prohibiting open dialogue and freedom of information. This is America, not North Korea. Our children are being taught to trust and look up to these astronauts. They deserve to receive accurate and honest information. I urge the board to stand for transparency and accountability, as well as the Constitution, certainly when it comes to speaking to our children. They have refused, or NASA must address the allegations openly, directly, and with specificity, providing concrete evidence to dispel these concerns or launch transparent disclosure. They have refused to do this for years, rather worked with big tech to hide behind a wall of suppression and censorship. If there is nothing to hide, why are they hiding? You can also go to Audit NASA to
Thank you very much. Your time's up.
To look into the investigation. It's so hard to watch it, bro. It's so hard.
Yeah, I think you're just you're hearing every little mistake, but no, that I was even listening for him, and it was hard to hear. Like,
it's fine.
No, you did. I saw a couple of times where you said you had to jump ahead, like you would start reading one part. I think you got like 3 words in, and then you just jumped ahead. That was like the only part, and it was like you speak so fast, it was like half a second. Most people probably didn't even notice it. No, well done, man.
I disagree, but thanks, man. So anyway, the part that's important, though, you see that they clearly let me finish, and all I'm doing is talking about NASA faking things, and then not letting us talk about it. So how can they turn around and tell Justin that that's not in their jurisdiction? You can't talk about NASA faking things.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It's because that dude got emotional. He's basically saying these people didn't actually die,
Mm-hmm.
Need to go to a crazy home.
Yeah, he literally said that. So he gave it away. He's so screwed because then you get to depose that guy. He's going to have to answer that. So we're going to create like a GoFundMe or like, what's it called? Send Go, something like that. For... Do I?
So one of those things.
Yeah, for you have to pay to submit the suit. And there's a couple other things. And then depositions are expensive. And then I don't know. I mean, I would think that people will trust Justin and I that the money would just go to that, but there may be some type of way to like actually transparently show the transactions or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But getting the suit out there ASAP is what's important because once they're notified of the suit, then you go back in there. See, like the objective is not to like make tons of money from them. Like they're gonna drag this out. They may end up paying some money. Who knows, right? But that's not the point. The point is to change, like to move the Overton window and change the environment where now everybody can go in there and respectfully and professionally address all kinds of subjects, including they're teaching evolution in school, they're teaching heliocentrism in school, they're teaching the globe Earth in school, and NASA's lying and faking things, right? And so I think that we can make more leeway with that than you can imagine. I think Alex Stein has actually done a lot in terms of that because he's allowed this attorney to know what's going on, to know how they handle things, what the law is, he moved the Overton window over. So people hate on Alex a lot, but he moved the Overton window over and we clearly saw that he went viral. I don't think you actually have to act crazy to go viral. I think if you get them upset, it goes viral. So that's my take. All right, cool. Let's check. Anything you want to say?
Just talking about the South, I wanted to point out that if you think, what is the definition of the word barrier? you pretty much going to come up with wall or fence or barricade of some type, right?
Oh, you're using some odd, rigid definition.
I use my own definition.
Edge of a container.
Yeah, so I'm reading the book, The South Pole, an account of the Norwegian Antarctic expedition in the Fram, 1910 to 1912. And if you do a search for the word barrier, you get a total of 167 times. So throughout this book, 167 times are they referring to the wall as the barrier. The Great Barrier, I'm looking at the chapter titles right now. It's the From Norway to the Barrier, Off the Barrier, From Buenos Aires to the Ross Barrier, From the Barrier to Buenos Aires, a snow beacon on the barrier surface, crevasses on the surface of the barrier. Just funny that that's the word they use. And then you ask, when you say there's an ice wall, everybody loses their mind and flips out and says there's no such thing, when this entire book about the South Pole traveling is that they come upon the barrier, the Great Ice Barrier, the barrier. Everything's about the barrier, which is them saying that there's a wall. So we're not the only ones. Relax. Don't get your panties in a bunch, please. And I think that's, I also searched for, so that was that. I was going to say one other thing. Oh, and if you just look up some of the quotes. Oh, didn't I read that quote last week about the barrier? What was it? Was it under Ross? Let me see. I just wanted to find it because it's funny. It's in Wikipedia. And they say to be hush about it. Wasn't it last week that I read that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I know it.
Don't talk about the barrier.
Real fast. You know how the whole encyclopedia thing, and it was talking about Antarctica, and it had a dome, and it said there was a dome, and people were like, "Well, there's a mountain range called Dome." Stupid flirts, blah blah blah. It's actually not as open and close as that apparently. So did you know they removed it the year before? That was in there up until the year of the Antarctic Treaty.
I did not know that.
The literal year. The last year before the Antarctic Treaty, that was in the encyclopedia, then it was removed. And it says a dome. It doesn't say the dome or the mountains, the dome. Now, I'm just saying that makes it a little bit more interesting. That once they did the treaty.
Because I know they call domes mountains that have not a peak, but like a hump. But
okay. So it's a general title for that type of mountain.
I think, but it doesn't mean that's what they're talking about there. Especially if they removed it, it wouldn't make a lot of sense for them to remove it.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, even if that is a description of a mountain, just maybe the overlap with the idea would be enough to remove it or whatever. But it's just interesting that it was removed at that exact time. I guess it could be the 400th coincidence or something.
So I'm reading from the Wikipedia from Ross Ice Shelf, about halfway down or so. It says, Amundsen wrote, along its outer edge, the barrier shows an even, flat surface, but here, inside the bay, the conditions were entirely different. Even from the deck of the Fram, we were able to observe great disturbances of the surface in every direction, huge ridges, hollows between the extended on all sides. The greatest elevation lay to the south in the form of a lofty arch ridge, which we took to be about 500 feet high on the horizon. But it might have been assumed that this ridge continued to rise beyond the range of vision. This connection had always haunted our brains. The next day, the party made its first steps onto the barrier. After half an hour's march, we were already at this first important point, the connection between the sea ice and the barrier. This connection had always haunted our brains. What would it be like? A high perpendicular face of ice, up which we would have to haul all of our things laboriously with the help of tackles, or a great and dangerous fissure, which we would not be able to cross without going the long way around. We naturally expected something of the sort. This mighty and terrible monster would, of course, offer resistance in some form or another. He wrote, the mystic barrier, all accounts without exception from the days of Ross to the present time, have spoken of this remarkable natural formation with apprehensive awe. It was as though one could always read between the lines the same sentence. Hush, be quiet, the mystic barrier. 1, 2, 3, a little jump and the barrier was surmounted. So it's funny that they seem to consider an ice wall then the Great Ice Barrier. So lots of interesting books to read from the 1800s, 1900s about Southern expeditions, for sure. And who was it? Captain Cook, who said, the ice barrier went to the east and west as far as the eyes could see, and he kept sailing around and trying to find a way to go around it, which doesn't make a lot of sense if you think of the globe model, because they would have expected to eventually turn right or turn left, either way you look at it, but they would have just kept going in the same turn direction if they were even able to notice it. I would think that they would have noticed. But who knows? We'll never know because his book was turned into the Queen, and it was 6 years until it was published. And by then he had already gone out for his last mission and disappeared or got killed and they ate his hand or didn't eat his hand or something. Which I don't believe that story anymore.
How dare you critically think for yourself?
No, I'm not buying it. I think he went out Summer's Gate. How about that for being anti-science? Summer's Gate. There's no such thing. You're a liar. It doesn't exist. We've already told you it doesn't exist. You're a liar. Oh, all right. Whatever then.
Yeah, ice doesn't melt.
Right. I love the Iron Republic, man. It's such a good book because there's things in that book that still have never been shown to me, or even. Oh, you're in Florida, huh? Oh man, I might have you. I need to see an original copy because I've never seen one, and I think that the original copy probably has a different ending.
What does that have to do with Florida?
It's in Florida Magazine, so the only place you'd probably be able to find an original one would be in a library there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and because if you've ever read the book, at the beginning, in the first like 4 or 5 paragraphs or pages at least, he says, and after my book comes out, we'll have to go back to the drawing board because science will have to change now that we know that the Earth is a plane, is a perpendicular plane. So then you go through the whole story, and at the end of the story, when they're coming back, he's talking about the 24-hour sun, and then it's completely, now he's acting like it's a globe. So it's like somebody wrote the end of the book that wasn't the original writer, but all we have is PDF copies. Nobody's ever seen an original that I know of.
Oh, dude, I mean, if someone can find one, I'm not going to go run around at all the libraries.
No, I think I do know where there's a library that says it has it, so I'll get you that info.
Yeah, bro, let me know. Someone said,
you can't take it in there. You can't even take a photograph of it. You'd have to go in with a pencil and like jot down what it says. They don't allow you to do any kind of picture taking or anything. You can't check it out. It's like in a secret room or something. I'll find you the information. I do have it.
Yeah, dude, I would definitely go check it out. Someone said, well, wait till they see that lawsuit. Please follow up. Yeah, man, like I said, I want to create a little fund and then try to find a way that everything that comes out of it's transparent or something. I don't know, we'll figure it out. But, yeah, like if, like, I decided we're just going to move out and ask to Discord. So if you have a Discord, we can kind of vet you. You can get popped in there, whatever. That's how you can really stay up. And then we're obviously going to let you guys know what's going on. There's the things that you don't tactically say, obviously, in these situations, right? You can only say certain things, but... All right. So someone gifted... My boy Joe Mama gifted 20 GLOBEBUSTERS memberships on YouTube.
Joe Mama, you the man.
Round of applause. Joe Mama, very generous, brother. Thank you for doing that.
Joe Mama, can we just vote and go south? Just so that they stop us and then we can see what happens? That's another thing. People always say, like, oh, there's no army of penguins. There's no army of boats out there that's protecting. It's like they've never heard of a tripwire. They can believe in all the wires going underneath the ocean of the internet, but they can't believe that there's one wire that they would run across the top that would tell them when a boat goes across it. It makes sense. Impossible to do. Be like faking the Himawari. You'd have to have cloud data for multiple hours in the future, even though my phone has cloud data for multiple days in the future. Impossible, though.
Yeah, dude. I mean, everyone wants to hear how nonsense what Jeran just said. Is just go to DFE, Debunking Flat Earth on YouTube. All right. We also have a very generous donation from Dan O. $100 on Ko-fi. Ya bless.
Dan O.
Thank you, man. Very generous. You got us up over the goal last minute. You and Adam stay pulling us through on the goal, man. Very generous. So thank you guys. Greatly appreciated. Dan O.
Over on Rockfin, we had Danny Burgess. Tip $20. Thank you, sir. He says, thank you for all the time and energy you guys put into finding truth and debunking the lies. Thank you, Danny.
Yeah, man. Thank you for the support. Jeran, real fast, what do you think about X-Men? Do you like it?
I need somebody to teach me a little bit about it. I don't get when I'm replying or I get frustrated. You must have a pro account or something. Is that why you're able to write posts?
Yeah, dude. Just get a pro account, man. Come on.
Yeah, because I never know. Like, I'll write a whole post and then I'll go to paste a link in there, and then it's like too long. I'm like, what? Did they count the link?
No, dude, it just changes everything. You don't have to think about any of that. Type as much as you want to, post as long of a video as you want to. It's definitely worth it. And people are like, why are you paying? It's like this. It's the same reason I pay YouTube Premium, bro. Like, you can say that's not a truther thing. It's like, okay, you watch the ads. I can consume more truther content faster. What about that? But
and it actually supports the people's videos that you're watching, believe it or not. People don't realize
it
that
does,
we pay YouTube Red, so.
It does. I mean, of course, I'm not monetized, and then on X, so there's an interesting thing about X. You can, after you have like pretty minimal requirements, you can be eligible for them to subscribe to you. And I thought, oh, well, that's good. I'll do that. You know, like Owen does that. And so what you can do is people follow you and then they can subscribe. And it's like, I set mine at like $5 or something, or $7 or something, you know? But then it's been pending approval for months now. And, you know, everyone says it should only take like a week at most, 3 to 5 days, blah, blah, blah. Mine keeps pending. So I was going to do that. I thought that would be cool. And because, like, you know, like only subscribers can see certain posts or only subscribers can reply to certain things. So you can set each post individually. Like, you can just use it like normal, but let's say private posts on X. That's kind of cool, right? Anyway. And then there's a second one where you get paid ad revenue based on your impressions and engagement. And based on like my percentage engagement is really, really high. So I thought, okay, well, I guess good engagement's like 1%. And I'm like, you know, 15, 20%, whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. You have to have 5 million impressions in the last 3 months and a few other things. And I had all those boxes with the green check marks, but it just wouldn't let me. It kept saying I wasn't eligible anyway. So I'm like, what's going on? You know? And I made a post about it. And then all of a sudden, once they roll out this new whatever method of verification, or you have to submit your ID, and the company, and it literally has a disclaimer that they can use your image, they can do all this stuff with it, blah, blah, blah. It goes to an Israeli company that's tied to like 8,600 military operations for Israel or something. Like literally Mossad. And now all of a sudden it says I am eligible. So anyway, that was a long way of saying I don't know.
You're in the club now, Austin.
Well, I didn't do it, right? I didn't submit but and obviously I could give Toby a hard time because I'm like, you think you're circumventing the censorship, and so I made a post about how like no one should do it, and he's like, oh, the irony. Now Austin thinks he got away. Now Austin thinks he can duck it. But I was thinking more out of principle, if everyone just didn't do that, if they didn't monetize, that maybe if they backtracked and refused to do it, then they may walk it back, you know. But anyway, so all that to say, someone then called me out. This is why all that came up was to answer your question. Someone was like, oh, but then you still have a blue check mark and you still pay them, you know? Why don't you stop that out of principle? I'm like, I can type longer messages and post longer videos to try to get truth out. That's not the same as like taking money. What am I missing here? So I think it's worth it, Jeran, is what I'm trying to say. I think it's like you can get one for Toby, you can know there's like 3 different types. The most expensive one's like $10. And there's one that's like $2 or $3 or something.
Yeah, the cheapest one's 3 or 4. I think you can get it on the browser for cheaper than on your phone, I believe, but then like it doesn't work on the browser, so I had to just do it through my phone.
That makes more sense.
But $10 or whatever, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I'll just have you show me one day a little bit so I can better understand replies and what happens when you put somebody's at the beginning of your tweet versus in the middle and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Because that's how I get to all these people, you know, kind of challenge all these people to debate and stuff like that. So it's you know, it's pretty cool. All right.
And I'll just tell people I'll kind of do my exit first here. You closing us down?
Yeah.
All right. You want to go to me first?
No. Yeah, sure. All right, Jeran, what you got coming up this week, bro?
Thank you. No, I was gonna say the VIP hangout yesterday. Thank you everybody who attended that. Austin was our guest, and the next one will be June 15th. It's in 2 Saturdays, and the guest will be the conspiracy music guru. So awesome to have him. And that's just the VIPs get together for a hangout, and then for the first hour or so, we have a special member of the community that hangs out with us and just talks and answers questions. And so Austin was with us for 2 hours yesterday. Dave Weiss jumped in there for a little bit. And we had about 25 or 30 people, other people that were there. So good amount. If you want to join them, you can go to whop.com/jeranism. Check it out. And you get that. You get the 2 crypto classes a month every other Friday, or that you could get more than 2 every other Friday. But the hangouts are the first and third Saturdays of the month. And we'll have some cool people. We've had Dave Weiss. We had Rose 777, Austin yesterday. And then we got Conspiracy Music Guru in 2 weeks. So it should be fun. Look forward to seeing everybody there.
Nice, very cool. Flat Earth Eric Daily. This stream is top 10 for all time. Thanks to you, brother. All right, who's next here? We'll go over to Zach. Good times for.
Eric was there. Thanks for showing up, Eric.
Yeah, Zach, what you got coming up?
Same old Thursday. We're gonna try. I know Chris Van Matre. He lives down in Houston. He doesn't live like downtown where all the real bad damage was taking place. But that storm that went through, he still doesn't have internet yet. That's why we didn't have him on last Thursday, and he was also out of town. But hopefully we'll get him on this Thursday for the GLOBEBUSTERS Tech, and it'll be all about surveying. Chris has been doing it about 30 years now, knows what he's doing, and he's gone through all the math and everything. And if he's got a system up and running, that's what we'll be covering Thursday. And then I also got my 3rd book published, but I haven't seen any of them yet since I've changed them. I went through and fixed all the pictures and sharpened them up a little bit. And 4th one's already written, and I'm working on that one now. But as soon as I see them and I like them, I'll let you guys know.
Nice, very cool. Post by Turbo NFA. What does that mean? Oh, dude, real fast, Jeran. There's like an NFT, I guess, which I would never normally get, but it's called Eats the Bugs. Eats the Bugs.
Oh, actually, you mean it's an NFT or it's a Solana?
Yeah, Solana, whatever.
I bought some yesterday.
Me too. Me too.
Okay, it went up to.
Yeah, it went up. I mean, if you had got it a few days ago, it went up a lot. But
EZB, right?
Yeah, EZB. You get Solano, and then you just go get Eats the Bugs. It's hilarious.
Looks like it's on its way up. It's been doing well.
Speaking of being tracked,
I like the concept of like truther coins. Like even if this is not. Don't go throw a ton of. This is like a gamble. Who cares? It's just like a thing. So
one of those meme coins they're called. But I mean, if you would have gambled on, a Shiba Inu, I think if you would have put $2,000 on it, it'd be worth over $3 million today. Which again, if you would have done that, somebody would have called you stupid back then, and now you'd be retired and they would be stupid. So it can happen, but I don't recommend putting anywhere near that much.
Well, since May 15th, this thing has gone up 33,000%.
Yeah, nice.
So you already missed it, right? But it doesn't matter. It still went up. I mean, I just got a little bit yesterday because I saw the dollar crypto talk about it, and it's like, what up 70%? 70% today or something since yesterday. So, all right, cool. And I use, just in case, because I saw someone say, I use Soulflare for Solana and did it. Anyway, I think it's funny.
If you haven't done a KYC, then maybe just think twice about it. Which is when you go to buy your first crypto. If you haven't bought your first crypto, I mean, these guys are right. You can probably make some money, but if you haven't gone and done the process where you have to take a photo of yourself and hold your ID up,
I didn't have to do any of that. You
never had to do any of that?
I did that a long time ago for Coinbase, but I didn't have to do that for Soulflare or anything. You don't do that for Exodus.
Do you take your money in and out through Coinbase?
No, I stopped taking my money in and out.
Yeah, that's the thing, is if you're going to cash out, I mean, the goal would be ultimately one day, and this is why you should be getting into crypto. If you're getting into it to kind of make double your money or triple your money, it's just dumb. But if you are going to hold it for 10 years, the hope would be that there's an economy for it in the future that you don't need to cash out for cash, right? So if people eventually take Bitcoin for their rent, then you can pay Bitcoin to your landlord. Like right now, it's very difficult. Your landlord's probably not taking Bitcoin, so you have to take your Bitcoin and then go and cash it out in a bank. And as per the United States law, you can't be a money changer or a money exchanger without knowing your customer, KYC. So again, if you look back at what Satoshi Nakamoto did, is he never said there should be any connection between the banking world and crypto. Crypto is supposed to be completely separate. Now, this is how it's been co-opted, and it's been taken over by these exchanges who now require, and it's not that they require, it's that that's the law in the United States. If you're going to be a money exchanger, you have to know your customers. So that's why banks require you to show your ID. And we went to Western Union, same thing, or money order, or whatever. Those are all banking institutions, so they have to check your ID. So if you're going to be buying crypto from a exchange like Coinbase or Kraken or those kind of things, they're doing what's required by the law. But the goal would be, for instance, if you came and wanted to buy from me, for example, that's a possibility to where you would then buy it from me. Now you're not KYC'd, and then you would go pay things with it. You're not KYC'd. That's the ultimate goal, is that the money kind of contains itself. That is the ultimate process. But, many people will be duped by the whole CBDC. They'll call that crypto, and then they'll, offer some deal like give us $5,000 and we'll give you 10,000 in CBD in the central bank digital currency. And everybody will, of course, fall for that. And then that is not crypto. The definition of crypto is a person-to-person exchange of value without the need of a third party. So when the United States government comes out with their coin, recognize that that is no longer person-to-person exchange of value without the need of a third party. That's person-to-person exchange of value controlled by a third party that very much cares about every single thing that you do and will track everything you do until you die. Amen.
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's always, how do you even get money in a bank account, though, without identity verification, I guess, right? So.
Yeah, but the difference there is that that's not all publicly traceable. Yeah, everything that I ever send to anybody with crypto can always be traced back to whichever wallet that I've spun up.
There's some coins, Pirate still, Monero, things like that. But you're right.
And they don't really follow the rest of the crypto market, and they're largely censored from average people being able to find it. I mean, if you want to go hop onto a VPN and give the federal government a reason to come audit you,
right?
Then you can go do those things. But I've decided for myself, it's just not the way I want to go. And I just
the one thing
people should just be aware that all.
Why
of this
did I
stuff is
start
very
this?
trackable. Someone can go comment on your wallet, and you can never remove it. Someone could literally dox your home address on your wallet, and it can never be cleaned from the blockchain. But there's a lot I could say on the crypto thing. Maybe
But have you never bought crypto before?
Oh no, dude! I've mined it. I've bought it.
So then you're already got, right? What you're saying is that you're already got then.
Well, to an extent, but I'm kind of basically choosing to not engage in the system. Essentially, I mean, like I said, I do have some. I also just, I find it easier to quantify value through value investing. If I was going to actually, looking for true investments, essentially, I like looking at a price to earnings ratio.
And I'll just say one thing: this government always does a very good job of scaring people, and I've done hundreds, maybe even 500 consultations, 400 consultations. And I know a lot of people in the crypto space, and I've never once talked to one person who's ever been approached or questioned by the government ever one time. So I'm not saying that couldn't happen tomorrow. I'm just saying it's very easy for the government to scare people into doing shit all the time. And then people are afraid. I have people come to me like, I need to get $300 worth of Bitcoin. How do I do it without the government knowing? I'm like, dude, nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares about your $300. They'll never care about that. It's the most insane, incorrect fear that I've ever heard in my life.
Think about how hard it would be for them to do that. It would be such a headache.
A waste of time. I mean, it'd be
it wouldn't be hard at all. I mean, it's all.
Yeah, they still need manpower to go actually act it out.
No. They need machine learning. They need machine learning clusters to go.
Machine learning is going to take you to trial, bro.
Well, yeah, and then
no, it'll do all the correlation for you to associate it. Honestly, you guys aren't wrong totally, right? I think it actually goes more to a governance and tokenization via Turing blockchain systems, right? It's when Ethereum forked and you had Ethereum Classic and Ethereum happen via an exploit of code line number 666 of the code was exploited, and they did a invocation of the payout system of the Digital Autonomous Organization of Ethereum, and the guy liquidated the funds, but he used the code, and the code was supposed to be the law. But the Ethereum Foundation said, no, we can't have our our hedge fund liquidated. So they split the entire blockchain, the whole thing that was supposed to be law and supposed to be decentralized. They took it and they made a copy of it and they restored all the money. They took the money away from the hacker guy. But that's why there's now Ethereum Classic and Ethereum. And now ever since that moment, every single blockchain now, all the Web3 blockchains like a Cardano and such, they have governance built into their cryptocurrency systems. And so with Cardano, say, with their, I can't remember what the name of their voting system is off the top of my head, but you literally buy voting power. And then when you buy voting power, that gives you say over what happens with the future of that blockchain and how the future development of that blockchain was going to go. Or let's say you wanted to fork the whole blockchain again. Well, the people that have bought up that cryptocurrency will have the ability to make those decisions. And then in order to actually prove yourself to this blockchain, you have to be able to tokenize yourself and prove that you are who you say you are. And if you don't have a third party involved, if you don't have a quote unquote authority to say who's who, then you have to have a way to truly tokenize yourself via, most likely an implant, in my opinion, is where this will eventually go.
I guess what I'm saying, and I shouldn't have brought this up at the end of the show, but I guess all I'm saying is, in a way, it's kind of like there's this idealized situation about crypto that it's like this sold as this freedom thing, and then that's actually not true. There's a bit of an underbelly to it, and it can be used maybe for future, even further control, right? I get all that. But it's like the argument that, well, but anyone can follow the blockchain. Well, who are you worried about following it? Like some average everyday person or the government? And if it's the government, I mean, they already track your bank account if they want to, right? It's called a FISA warrant.
Toby, let me ask this real quick because I want to know your opinion on it. So if, let's say I've got money on Coinbase, which is connected to my name, and I pull the Bitcoin out to an address. That's my address. I just created it today. So, but how do they know I didn't send it to you? So this is where I think that people forget there's plausible deniability in crypto that doesn't exist anywhere else. Meaning that if I pull it off Coinbase and I send it to an address, let's say I owed you $1,000. So I said, hey, Toby, what's your Bitcoin address? And you gave it to me. And then I send it from my Coinbase to your address. What people think is that they think somehow the government will know whose money. How do you know who that money went to? It's plausible deniability. They can come to me and say, where's that $1,000? And I say, I sent it to Toby. And they could go to you and say, Toby, where's that $1,000? And you go, Jeran sent that to himself. Who's going to, this is why they're afraid of crypto. Because there's
but you say I could say Jared sent it to himself. Okay, then you say, but then they just all they have to do is watch it, and then any time that it goes anywhere, they collect more evidence about who or what. Like you start getting into the idea of dirty money, where people can be like, why do you have money from an oil company, or why? Like it could literally. I mean, it's a perfect system for rolling out a social credit score, but
that's the CBDC. I think is, in my opinion, definitely that.
Or we just the more nefarious and tricky way is they drop it as if it's a Satoshi Nakamoto guy, even though the name, literally the Japanese family name, it translates to Central Intelligence. You drop it because you could never have an actual face, an actual person attached to this currency, or that never would have built the trust that Bitcoin built. And so now you have this trust that everyone's built in this system that they think is decentralized, even though it's right in your face that it's a central intelligence planted system. But in any case, you get, because of the halving cycle, because of the way that everyone gets rich from it, this up and up and up and up and up and down the rug, the inevitable end of the halving cycle. It's a psychological game where people get sucked into it, and we don't realize that we're actually buying into a system where all of these nightmarish type of things, where this system is inherently it's built on a ledger. The whole thing is a ledger. It's all about every single thing that gets done. Now, you start talking to people, talk about Web3, you're just talking about taking the internet, and instead of having to do all the logging, via the internet companies and collecting cloud data from Google and stuff and having to correlate it all in the back end like the NSA does, it makes it way easier, because instead everything that anyone will ever do will be on this ledger, and it'll all be attached back to tokenization of different identities. Now, you can try sending money. You can try and say, oh, you have the plausible deniability and stuff. But that's why I think really you would eventually get to a point where you would start just automating those things. And whoever has the authority over the governance of these different blockchains will inevitably start putting those things into place, like things where, depending on what kind of thing you're buying or what kind of what is that person's social credit score? Well, then how much is their money even worth? That type of a thing.
Right.
I don't
Last
know.
question. Last question. One last thing. So if that's true, that why do they need the CBDC? So if it's true that they can just track the money as it is, the crypto as it is, why would they need to create their own that they can actually track? If it's just easy to track Bitcoin and Ethereum, then they wouldn't need a CBDC, right?
That's just probably different siloed bits of knowledge where different parts of the, the head not knowing what the foot's doing or whatever they call it.
Gotcha.
I love you guys. I'm sorry I did that. Pause. It's a good conversation.
It's a great convo.
Yeah, but it's just like,
it.
yeah, I can't be here much longer.
You'll never wake up at any point in your life and crypto not be a part of it. Now, whether or not that's because you're being tracked incessantly or whether it's some sort of a freedom thing, probably I lean towards the previous. That it does seem like a pretty scary thought. If you had a dollar that was crashing and was going to crumble, in order to keep it up a little bit longer, you would need people to start spending money on nothing, and that's kind of what's gone on in the last 10 years. So anyway, just pointing.
Well, yeah, like obviously, dude, like cash and gold and silver. There's much more privacy with something like that. Obviously, in all actuality, I can do whatever I want to with cash. You'll never know. And so, that is like a truth.
I track those serial numbers every day.
Okay.
So what you're up to? No.
All right, yeah. Or like gold or whatever. So it's all good. I would say my little part, very simply, is like there's an immense transition of wealth to digitalization with or without cooperation or participation. And so that was like a bar. So like you could sit there and watch it or not, whatever. It's to each their own. I don't necessarily, I don't think it's going to save the world. I think there's probably some sinister abuse of it behind the scenes. I'm not naive enough to think that it's all this like vigilante freedom movement, but I think it may be more nuanced. But anyway, you guys both know more about it than I do. All right, I'm going to move on to Toby. What do you got coming on this week?
So you can always check us out on Ether Cosmology. Our schedule now, it's changed up a little bit over the last couple of weeks. We now do reading on Monday nights. So that's typically, honestly, probably for some people, pretty boring. We just read and do research. Like we jump into a paper, or this week we're going to be reading from Shankar's Physics. And then, so we do that Mondays. And then Tuesdays, we do our presentations. This Tuesday, Alan, who was presenting earlier, he'll be doing a presentation on the on quantum electrodynamics and the correctness, quote unquote, or how correct they are. So check that out on Tuesday over on Ether Cosmology, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then on Thursday, we do live X Twitter Spaces. So check that out. We'll be doing, and typically I think that's going to kind of follow a format where wherever we talk about on Tuesday, we'll kind of continue talking about that in the Twitter space on Thursday, which is kind of cool. Kind of a nice central social media hub for people to come in and out to the Twitter space and ask questions and such. Check that all out, ethercosmology.com. And then also, if you happen to like good quality, fresh, small batch coffee, then you can check out Brushtailed Coffee, BRUSHTAIL.coffee. And I roast the coffee myself on a Weber grill with a little special motor contraption. I only pick high quality beans. Recently, someone asked me if the beans are organic. About half of them are off the top of my head, maybe slightly less than that. But the reason I don't list whether or not they are is because they're all like really high quality stuff from high quality processors. I only drink good, fresh, like pesticide free coffee that I actually enjoy. So, there you go.
Nice. I just dropped the link to brushtail.coffee in the chat. All right. Cool. And I got, I'm flying out tomorrow, 7 a.m. And I'm going to be in Idaho for a few days. And I have a NASA Lives presentation that I'm doing at VDAIR. Then I have a Flat Earth 101 presentation. Then the next day I have a biblical cosmology presentation, and then trivia, Q&A, or kind of what we're going to do. Maybe a debate if anyone steps up. That's all in person. It'll be recorded. It'll be documented. It'll be live streamed. So that'll be cool. So I'll be in Idaho for a couple days. And then June 15th, Professor Dave debate. I may be debating a PhD doctor on the safety and efficacy of shots. So when I get back, so that should be interesting. And yeah, Ko-fi.com/witsit. You'll see that we've created now. If you sign up as a monthly member there, a bot automatically gives you a role in our new exclusive Miswits Discord. We'll have private VCs and so like watch parties behind the scenes in real live streams, private Miswits streams, after parties for debates that are just exclusive for Miswits, a bunch of stuff like that. So also Ko-fi itself will allow me to put certain things behind membership walls. So you'll have like a bunch of that exclusive content there as well. So we're moving everything specifically there. And as long as they don't mess with me, that's where we're going to be for good. Ko-fi.com/witsit. And, you can go to the Discord through there. If you're already a member, it should backlog you. If not, I'm going to find a way to backlog everyone. And yeah, that's about it. witsitgetsit.com also has all that information as well as a donate page that talks you through it. All right, cool. And the Discord's going to be cool, man. I spent a lot of time trying to put it all together and create a pretty cool system. So if you don't have Discord, think about getting it. Also, same with Audit NASA. Let me reiterate that. Anyone that wants to help us with maybe like the lawsuit or some of the legwork or just with Audit NASA in general, and help us run some of our socials and help me create the Discord for Audit NASA, let me know. And for anyone that is part of Audit NASA or was and is in here hearing this, the Telegram is still up. We can communicate there. Also, to make the transition, I still have the community up. I'm trying to put the word out there. I know a lot of people kind of fell off looking there. We're going to move everything over to Discord and Telegram and just start just doing stuff. And this is the first thing we need help with. I think this is going to open the door for everything else after that. All right, cool. Shout out to everyone that supported. So thank you to all the super chats and memberships on YouTube, on Rockfin, and on Ko-fi. I appreciate you guys. And I think that's about it. Anyone else got something else they want to say or forgot?
Nope.
All right, cool. So we will catch up with you next week. And be kind to each other. Don't lie to each other. Open your mind because there's truth inside. Peace out.
Peace.
Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork.
You don't see the curvature of the earth. That stuff is flat.
GLOBEBUSTERS taking over. Bye bye moon man and rover. NASA's so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster, but the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is. Get the shovel for the space hubble, piecing up the puzzle. Need to bust your bubble. Evil gonna crumble, yeah. Sit down, be humble. Got the ball, you better fumble. You get mad 'cause at this fight I'm about your uncle.
And then they call me the liar. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable the pathetic techniques that they have to use to prove their heliocentric model.
Vibes at the president, Jeran got the evidence. Arrows laying Jesuits and Zack is evident. That the earth electric and it's residential residence. It's heaven sent, I hope to settle in like some sediment. If we so wrong, why they lying to discredit it? That's not too intelligent. That's a guy, not in court, but we ain't really in the settlement. It's time to awaken from the pseudoscience sedatives.
GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Bye bye moon man and rover. NASA's so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster, but the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is.
Inner World Productions.